Chapter 31-33. Third young master arranged for me to kill you. Big boss doesn't actually want to kill you. This is all third young master's plan. Zhuang Yi explained, I'll tell you everything, but you have to let me go. Su Yun shook his head. Do I need you to tell me all this? Even if I use my toes to think, I can understand that it must be third young master who wants to kill me, because his father wants to use me. After testing me and finding out that I have no problem, he will not hurt me, but third young master is different. But Zhuang Yi was speechless. He really didn't know how to make Su Yun let him go. Su Yun didn't want him to explain, what does third young master want you to do with me? Zhuang Yi didn't dare to say it at first, but because of Su Yun's aggressive eyes, he finally gritted his teeth and said, he wants me to throw you down the stairs. He wants you to fall and shatter your bones. What about her? Su Yun pointed at Xiaoya. Xiaoya was already trembling in fear. She didn't want to stay in this place for another minute. The smell of blood made her unable to control her emotions. Third young master wants me to bring her back to him because he doesn't want to kill her. Zhuang Yi said, third young master likes her and wants her to become his plaything. Is that so? Su Yun smiled faintly. If that's the case, then if you can successfully kill me with a sneak attack today, she will really be consigned to eternal damnation. The torture you want to inflict on her will definitely be worse than death. Zhuang Yi quickly waved his hand. It's not me. It has nothing to do with me. It's third young master. It's what he wants. This has nothing to do with me. Is that so? Su Yun's expression was full of disdain. Do you think I can't see what kind of person your dirty master is? Before Zhuang Yi could explain, Su Yun dispelled his thoughts. A pervert like him will definitely throw a plaything to you dogs to continue playing with. I didn't guess wrong, right? Zhuang Ying was actually speechless. Su Yun suddenly attacked without warning. Zhuang Ying broke out in a cold sweat. He wanted to resist, but he found that Su Yun did not intend to give him a chance to resist. In less than 3 rounds, Zhuang Ying had already lost the ability to fight back. Su Yun took a step back and kicked Zhuang Li to the window. This place was dozens of meters high, and the glass of the windows were all broken. It was frightening to look down. Because the cloud building was located in the city, the bustling roads below could be seen clearly. Zhuang Ying was pushed to the window. He looked at Su Yun in horror. Although he still put on a posture of resistance, he knew very well that it was impossible for him to resist. Facing Su Yun, Zhuang Yi was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. What do you want? Whatever you want to do to me, I will do to you. Su Yun said expressionlessly. Do I still need to explain? Although I'm not a vicious wolf like you, I'm also not a kind-hearted little Red Riding Hood. Since you want me to die, if I don't die, I won't give you a second chance to hurt me. Su Yun was very decisive in this kind of thing. Especially in the face of this kind of private bodyguards and assassins, as well as those violent extremists, Su Yun would never be soft-hearted. This was because he knew very well that this kind of people would never have the slightest bit of mercy when they harmed others. For Su Yun, anyone whose hands were stained with blood was guilty, including himself. Even if he had never hurt any innocent person, he thought that he was a guilty person. As long as his hands were stained with blood, no matter what the reason was, he was guilty. Only when Su Yun saw himself as a sinner, could he face death in some special missions and act indifferently. This was something he had to face. There was nothing to be understood or sympathized with. You won't let me go? Zhuang Yi was still trying to find a chance to die. Su Yun shook his head. I never said that I would let you go. Since you have hidden in the Philippines to live, you must have a lot of debts to pay back. Zhuang Yi suddenly pulled the broken window frame. Without any warning, he pulled the whole window frame down with all his strength and threw it at Su Yun's face without hesitation. Even if there was only a sliver of a chance, he would not give up on himself. Su Yun wanted him dead, but he would not allow himself to die. However, Zhuang Rui's resistance was futile. Su Yun saw through his plan immediately. The moment he pulled down the window frame and smashed it at him, Su Yun dodged it with a quick movement of his body. Then he swept his leg out. Zhuang Yi, who was trying to escape, did not realize that Su Yun could still use his leg in such a situation. In an instant, Su Yun put him down on the ground. This time, Su Yun did not want to waste any more time with him. He stepped forward and pulled Zhuang Yi up from the ground by the throat and pushed him to the window without hesitation. Zhuang Yi still wanted to beg for mercy, but Su Yun's movements were clean and smooth. He directly threw him out of the window. With a roar that tore through the night sky, the heavy object fell to the ground and broke into pieces. After doing all this, Su Yun did not relax. He quickly walked to the bedside and said, "Let's go. If we don't go now, it will be too late." "I can't go with you. You are a murderer." Xiaoya was still unable to accept the fact that Su Yun had hurt someone. Su Yun did not have time to explain to Xiaoya. Seeing that Xiaoya was still insisting on not leaving, he simply carried her in his arms. Xiaoya wanted to struggle, but unfortunately, Su Yun's strength was too strong. Xiaoya could not break free at all. Just like that, Xiaoya was carried down the stairs by Su Yun. At this time, it was definitely not a wise choice to take the elevator. It would only take 1 or 2 minutes for the third master to realize that the person who fell down the stairs was not Su Yun, but his subordinates. At that time, everything would be messed up. If Su Yun wanted to leave, he would definitely hurt more people. At this time, the people who were hurt might not be as deserving as the few people who had died just now. Therefore, Su Yun wanted to leave as soon as possible. It was not that he was afraid. After all, no matter how many people there were, they would not be able to stop him. Even if there were no stairs or roads, Su Yun could find a way down along the outer wall. However, it was not so convenient to bring Xiaoya along. Everything was too dangerous now. Only by escaping as soon as possible could Su Yun think about other problems. When the two of them rushed down the stairs, Xiaoya looked at Su Yun in horror and said, "Why did you kill people?" Su Yun only said one sentence to Xiaoya. "There was once a chairman who wanted us to learn from Uncle Lei. He said that to treat comrades as warm as spring, to work as hot as summer, to individualism as autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves, to the enemy as cruel and merciless as winter." Xiaoya was stunned. She was actually speechless. Su Yun was definitely cruel and merciless to the enemy. He did not hesitate at all when he killed the enemy. This was the most terrible thing about Su Yun. It was because he was very clear about when he should make a decision. He was also very clear about what kind of decision was the calmest one. Only calmness could let Su Yun win everything. Only calmness could let Su Yun be in an invincible position. Just like now, if it were not for his calmness, he would not have rushed downstairs with Xiaoya and returned to the rented car so quickly. At this time, the upstairs realized that there was a problem. The alarm of the whole building roared. At this time, Su Yun had already driven away from the Yunxiao casino. It was as if everything that happened tonight had nothing to do with him. Of course, if the police investigated the situation, it would be easy to find out. However, Su Yun was confident that the big boss would not let the police investigate him. Because in the end, his son would not be able to get away with it. He would also be in trouble. Everything would be suppressed quickly. Before people knew the truth, all the news would be blocked. Chapter 31-34. The reason why the news was blocked was very simple. This was the Cloud Building in Zhoushan. Every year, countless people would go bankrupt and die in the Cloud Casino. If it were not for Zhoushan's methods, this place would have been closed down long ago. A suicide was nothing to Zhoushan. Third young master made a big ruckus, but Su Yun had already disappeared without a trace. The person who fell to his death was Zhuang Ruo, whom he had always trusted. Third young master was completely dumbfounded. This meant that he had lost the bet with his father completely. Even so, third young master could not let Su Yun get away with it. If he wanted to catch Su Yun, he could only get the police involved. That would give him more support and help. Thinking of this, third young master did not go through his father and directly contacted the police. As the third prince of Yunxiao Casino, his words carried a lot of weight. Even if he did not use his father's name, Everyone knew what kind of background he had. Other than that, Third Young Master also used other forces under him. Various small gangs that wanted to use his identity as Third Young Master could also provide him with very good clues. Although Third Young Master was confident in his identity, the Philippine police still did not immediately make the necessary arrangements. After all, this matter involved too many people. They still needed to ask Jolshwin. After all, Jolshwin was a senator and had a lot of power in the Philippines. The police knew very well that he was a big shot that they could not afford to offend. They had to serve him well. Therefore, after Third Young Master contacted the police, Jolshwin was immediately notified by the police. Jolshwin quickly understood what was going on. He also knew that he had won. When the police asked if they needed to intervene, Jolshwin immediately shook his head and stopped them. He said that the police did not need to worry. He would handle it himself. After the phone call, the Philippine police went to bed again. As a senator, although Jolshwin was involved in many corruption cases, his ability was obvious to all. He had made great contributions to the country's reform, employment, and industry. Most people in the Philippines respected him. After the police went to bed, Jolshwin, who had just returned home, picked up his phone and called his third son. In fact, even if the Philippine police were to intervene, what could they do? The whole world knew that the Philippine police force was the most incompetent organization in the world. Although it had been many years since the Hong Kong and Macau tour groups were kidnapped in the Philippines, it was still vivid in his mind. At that time, Hua Xia was very shocked by this incident. Su Yun understood the situation very well. Because of the Philippines' incompetence in handling this matter, it led to a tragedy. If they had informed Hua Xia immediately and let the organization arrange for Su Yun and the others to do the rescue work, there would be no accidents. The Philippine police took the attack by force. Although the gunman who took the hostage was killed, the hostage was not saved. 7 people were dead, 2 were seriously injured, and the rest of the tourists had minor injuries. Moreover, when the gunman was firing with an automatic rifle outside the car, a staff member of the Hong Kong and Macau TV station was grazed by a stray bullet. In addition, at least 2 locals were injured. The police in the Philippines said that the gunman was emotionally unstable and might attack the hostages, so they decided to use force. This explanation was simply too nonsensical. Many people were angry because the safety of their countrymen and the so-called respect for the internal affairs of other countries, which one was more important? Hua Xia should be like Israel or the United States and regard the lives of its citizens as the country's greatest interest. Protecting the lives and property of its citizens should be the most important core task. Everyone knew that these 2 countries had sent special forces to other countries to rescue their citizens after they were kidnapped outside their borders. In the end, they were successful. However, because Hua Xia respected the internal affairs of the Philippines, they did not send the special forces to rescue the hostages in time. The Philippine police force was so incompetent that there was no way to ensure the safety of the hostages. The most important responsibility of the whole incident was the Philippine police force. Because of their low level and incompetent rescue, it led to such a tragic situation in the end. The grief and sorrow brought about by this could not be comforted. The more acute problem was the society and government of the Philippines. At that time, this terrible incident was a microcosm of the Philippines falling into a corrupt underworld. The corruption in the Philippines began with the country's highest leader and his family. From the dictatorship to the elected, the family of the president could not escape the accusations of nepotism and corruption. Why was that? Because the country's machinery was under the corrupt system. The police force was inefficient, diseases were rampant, and the regulation was weak. The society was polarized, and bribes were demanded everywhere. Kidnappings and massacres happened one after another in the Philippines. The culprit of that vile incident actually targeted tourists from Hong Kong and Macau as targets because of his domestic professional and personal grudges. It was infuriating and outrageous. In Su Yun's view, the actions of the Philippine police force could be said to be stupid and stupid. This should be the main reason why the incident eventually turned into a tragedy. More than 10 hours after the incident, the police repeatedly said that for the safety of the hostages, they would not launch a surprise attack unless it was absolutely necessary. This should not have been announced to the public. At any time, launching a surprise attack under a certain risk was definitely a necessary option to rescue the hostages. The Philippine police force negotiated with the kidnappers to let the hostages go, but let their own country's interpreter and tour guide escape first, leaving the remaining Hong Kong and Macau tourists as hostages. There was no way to communicate with the kidnappers. The driver at the front of the car did not do any work to communicate with the hostages and kidnappers. He did not even help the hostages to find a safe solution. Instead, he was focused on escaping. Later, the driver escaped and lied that all the hostages had been killed. The Philippine police force did not do any verification and blindly launched a surprise attack. At that time, it was live on TV. Su Yun remembered clearly that they were all watching the live broadcast. After all, they weren't able to arrange for them to carry out the rescue mission. Under the watchful eyes of the public, everyone could see the Philippine police force's clumsy and embarrassing behavior. They were simply a mob, swarming forward, smashing the glass with hammers, using ropes to open the door. They did not look professional at all. After a group of Philippine special forces surrounded the bus, they could not open the door for half an hour. After smashing the glass, they could not enter the bus for a long time. The SWAT officers circled around the bus, trying to evade it. They were simply a bunch of clowns. And they even arranged for snipers. But from the beginning to the end, the F*King sniper was purely a decoration. If the sniper was difficult to deploy because they were afraid of hurting the innocent, at least they could have used a smoke bomb to help rush in. Anyone who had watched Stephen Chow's The Legend of the Truant, even a complete layman would have thought of this, right? In the end, it took more than an hour for the Philippine Special Forces to be deployed, surround the bus, and finally, kill the kidnappers and enter the bus. This so-called surprise attack turned into a protracted battle, and in the end, it led to an irreversible tragic ending. If this kind of surprise attack was left to the Dragon Fury team, Su Yun might not dare to guarantee that they could complete the task of killing the kidnappers in 10 seconds, but he definitely dared to say that they could kill the kidnappers in 15 seconds and ensure the safety of all the hostages. And he did not need 20 or 30 people to surround the bus in circles. He only needed 3 or 5 brothers to end the battle. Therefore, the Philippine police force was the scum of scum. Even if they really wanted to capture Su Yun, what could they do? If the Philippine police could capture Su Yun, they might as well go to heaven. It was impossible to daydream. Chapter 31-35. Su Yun had considered these problems before. If the other party really allowed the police to put him on the wanted list, he wouldn't care. There was only one criminal who hijacked the tour bus, and he was exposed to the sniper's sight countless times, but he still didn't die. If he was exposed to Dragon's fury, he would be beaten to death 10,000 times. This was enough to show that the Philippine police were both incompetent, ignorant, and brainless. They were a group of people who relied on their connections to climb up the ranks and make a living by pretending to be tough. When he saw the Philippine police's explanation, he was angry. The tour bus wasn't bulletproof. The SWAT team attacked with such a big hammer, but the windows didn't seem to have any effect. Even a suckling child would have more strength than them. The group of people kicked and smashed the door. Su Yun wondered if they had brought their brains with them when they came out for the mission. During the War of Liberation, they knew to attack from all directions. The SWAT team just grabbed the door, and no one got on the bus, and no one attacked from the other side. They were rescuing hostages, not filming a reality show. Why did they have to steal the show? Were they afraid that they wouldn't be able to act? The Philippine police said that they didn't have heavy armor, so they had no other choice but to attack the door. Did the Philippine police have to use tanks to attack a tour bus? The spokesperson didn't use his brain. For this kind of bus door, Hua Xia's well-trained SWAT team could definitely open it in 3 seconds even without tools. If it were Su Yun, it would be a matter of a kick. Not to mention Su Yun, even Hua Xia's city management couldn't stand it. Didn't these guys know that the bus had a quick escape route? They could open the door from the outside by pulling the handle. They could also pry open the luggage compartment under the bus. Most buses had a trap door that led to the floor of the bus. If they had brains, even a few strong and courageous ordinary people would be able to solve this problem easily. Arrange for one person to attract the attention of the murderer in the car. As long as the murderer did not want to die, he would not act rashly and shoot to kill. Then arrange for one person to enter the car through the luggage compartment or the escape tunnel to surprise the murderer, and the matter would be solved. Who would believe that a group of Philippine Special Forces could spend an hour to get into a bus? This was simply nonsense. If a few naughty kids came, it wouldn't even take an hour to enter the bus. No one could understand how the Philippine SWAT team became a SWAT team. If a group of people with almost zero intelligence and combat strength could become a SWAT team, then wouldn't their police force have negative combat strength? A group of elites in the police force was nothing to be afraid of, not to mention the rest of the trash. Just like that, Su Yun drove Xiaoya straight to the residence of the boss that Lamour had snatched. This was the safest place Su Yun could think of. Lamour's usurpation might not have a deep foundation, but one thing could not be denied. Since his gang could take over so many streets and alleys, it meant that his gang was the strongest gang in the area. Su Yun was sure that the third young master would not only use his authority to get the police to intervene in this matter, but he would also use money to mobilize the hooligans. Money was omnipotent. Most of the time, problems that seemed to be unsolvable could be solved as long as the right amount of money was given. Therefore, this was an aspect that Su Yun could not control. The police were incompetent because they received orders and did not have any motivation. Street hooligans were different. They could get the temptation of money. When faced with the temptation of money, people would definitely be motivated. This motivation would make Su Yun especially troublesome. Although Su Yun was not afraid of these hooligans, there was a saying in Hua Xia, "The king of hell is easy to provoke, but the little ghosts are hard to deal with." If he was pestered by the little ghosts, there would definitely be no end to it. Therefore, it was safest for Su Yun to go to Lamour. There would not be any little ghosts pestering this place. Moreover, he and Lamour had just reached a partnership. Lamour would not betray Su Yun because Su Yun's business made more money. On the other hand, the third young master was a bully. Even if Lamour betrayed Su Yun and handed Su Yun to the third young master would not give him much benefit. This ensured that Su Yun would be able to get rid of the little ghosts pestering him. The little ghosts would not pester him for too long. As long as Su Yun waited for Jolshwin to contact him, everything would be solved. No hooligans would dare to touch someone who could stand beside Jolshwin. No matter how much money the third young master gave, no one would dare to do so. Jolshwin was a senator and a very powerful person in the Philippines. The third young master was only his son and a dog. They were not worth mentioning at all. No one would be willing to be such a fool. Su Yun's visit in the middle of the night surprised Lamour. He could not understand Su Yun anymore. However, when Xiaoya appeared beside Su Yun, a strange smile appeared on Lamour's face. "Friend, I've already said that there's no cat in this world that doesn't eat fish. You've changed people so quickly. This beauty is. There is nothing to hide between the two of us. I will tell you directly." Su Yun smiled. "This is the woman I raised in the Philippines." "You are so lucky." Su Yun continued, "You also know that I came to the Philippines with a woman. It was not easy for me to find this opportunity to see her." Lamour nodded. "I understand. Of course, I understand your urgent feelings. I am not as good at cheating as you. I can do it openly. I have to be careful. Caution is the parent of safety." "Su Yun, I thought of a few places. None of them are as safe as this place. Even if my woman comes, I can say that I am here to discuss business with you. She can also say that she is your woman." Lamour was not without evil thoughts. "Don't worry, friend. In the future, if you want to keep a woman, you can keep her here. Whenever you want to eat her, I welcome you." Su Yun smiled. He clearly knew what was going on in Lamour's head. "Bro, I'm a clean freak. I don't like sharing things with others, especially when it comes to women. I can't accept it." Lamour heard Su Yun's words and dismissed the idea. "I will get someone to prepare a room for you." Lamour was a little disappointed. Su Yun did not have the time to care about his feelings. Then I will trouble you. Xiaoya was frightened out of her wits that night. She was a little dazed. After being brought into the room by Su Yun, Xiaoya looked at Su Yun in a daze. Do we have to put on another show? But I really don't have the strength to scream with you. If you want, you can do whatever you want to me. Let nature take its course. I can't pretend anymore. No need, Su Yun said. You just need to rest. Xiaoya's face was full of confusion. Then can you tell me who you are? Su Yun looked at Xiaoya. There are some things that I can't tell you. You won't understand even if I tell you. But I promise that I am not a bad person, nor am I an inhumane murderer. But today you... Xiaoya couldn't help but shiver when she said this. Killed 5 people. Su Yun nodded. Sometimes, some people can't be punished by the law. My job, my mission, is to kill these people when they pose a threat to me or the people around me. I can't imagine what your profession is. Xiaoya shook her head. That's right. Su Yun smiled faintly. If you can't imagine it, then don't think about it. I have important things to do in Philly, so I hope you can understand. Xiaoya stared at Su Yun and said seriously, Your matter may be very important, but your coming here has changed my life, even changed my life. At the beginning, I wanted to thank you, because your existence gave me hope to find myself again, but now, you have brought me into this kind of desperate situation. You are indeed very powerful, you have the ability to deal with those who want to hurt you, but I don't have that ability. If they catch me, I can only be killed. Chapter 31-36. Xiaoya's emotions were a little agitated, and Su Yun could understand her emotions at the moment. If it was anyone else, being involved in this kind of dispute for no reason would be an abnormal thing to break down. Xiaoya didn't dare to think about how dangerous it was to be with Su Yun. This was something she had never encountered in so many years of her life, so she only had one thought in her mind, and that was to be with Su Yun. Her life would be in danger at any time. Looking at the people Su Yun was in contact with now, a man with a gangster aura, and he was staring at her with greedy eyes in front of Su Yun. It was as if he could swallow her up in the next second. Xiaoya was even sure that as soon as Su Yun left the room, the man named Lamour would immediately rush in and do everything he wanted to do to her. No matter what he did, Xiaoya had no chance to resist. Xiaoya's face was filled with helplessness and anger. Because she was in a desperate situation, she was no longer worried about offending Su Yun. Even if Su Yun was a customer who had to pay for her service, she didn't care anymore. Even if she wanted to return to her country and start anew, she threw all of that to the back of her mind at this moment because she could lose her life at any time. When a person was about to lose their life, what else could they not lose? So Xiaoya didn't care at this moment. She finally had the chance to calm down and she finally welcomed the eruption. She wasn't even worried that the person outside the door would hear it. In fact, Lamour did hear the sound in the room. Unfortunately, he was a gangster on the street and didn't understand Chinese at all. He didn't receive any education in this area since he was young, and he didn't need to learn this kind of education when he grew up to be a gangster, so he couldn't even understand basic Chinese. In his opinion, this was just a little woman complaining to a man. As long as I'm here, you won't be in any danger. I can guarantee you that, Su Yun said seriously. Trust me, I can do that. I can't believe you. Xiaoya shook her head and didn't give Su Yun any chance to explain. Su Yun felt a headache coming on. Then what do you want me to do? If it can make you feel at ease, I will try my best to solve this problem. You have no way to solve the problem of my safety. You can't even solve your own safety right now. Xiaoya said, Do you know what kind of person the big boss of Cloud Casino is? He has a terrifying amount of power. Su Yun nodded. Of course I know. If he didn't have the power, I wouldn't have gone to him. Xiaoya stared at Su Yun in astonishment. You know that he has a lot of power. Then why did you provoke him? He won't hurt me, Su Yun said. I can guarantee that. Moreover, he will protect me. When the time comes, I can ask him to arrange for you to be sent back to China first. Do you feel safe now? Send me back to my country. Xiao Ya's eyes widened. This was an answer that she had never expected. Su Yun nodded. This place is indeed not suitable for you to continue staying. I also apologize for breaking your life by coming here. Xiaoya rubbed her head. Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. Moreover, not only will I send you back to your country, I will also arrange a job for you, Su Yun said. Xiaoya was even more suspicious when she heard this. You don't have to say these words to deceive me. However, one thing was certain. Her emotions weren't as agitated as before. Su Yun told Xiaoya seriously, of course, I can't arrange a job for you anywhere. However, I can arrange a job for you in places like Yanjing, Xinjiang, Qingdao, and Jibei. If you don't like to go to the big cities, I have some friends in Hadong City. Xiaoya shook her head. Her body's reaction told Su Yun that she didn't believe him. Yanjing, Xinjiang. These were all international cities. They were all first-tier cities in Huaxia. Even Qingdao and Jibei were second-tier cities. I'm not joking, and I'm not lying to you, Su Yun said seriously. As for Yanjing and Xinjiang, Xiaoya didn't even dare to think about it. In those cities, the average price of a house was tens of thousands per square meter. For someone like her, even if she found a job, her salary wouldn't be enough to pay the rent. Where do you want to go? Tell me, Su Yun said. I'm really not joking. I want to go to Qingdao. What kind of job can you help me find? Xiao Ya's heart wavered. She asked carefully, do business? Do sales? Su Yun shrugged. As for what kind of job is suitable for you, I really don't know. However, someone will arrange it for you. As he spoke, Su Yun took off his watch. If you go to Qingdao, it will save me a lot of trouble. Just take this watch and go to Tianyu Group to look for President Ruan Qingshuang. If she's not there, then look for Feng Ying. She's the general assistant. She's in charge of the entire secretarial department. Xiaoya was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. Are you joking with me? What kind of joke is this? I'm serious, Su Yun said. You know what Tianyu Group does? You're asking me to go there to look for the president's general assistant. Xiaoya said. Of course I know, Su Yun said. I'm not familiar with other companies, but I'm very familiar with Tianyu Group. Haven't you been asking about my identity? I can tell you with this identity. I also have a position in Tianyu Group. Trust me. Su Yun didn't give Xiaoya a chance to doubt him. He stuffed the watch into her hand and said, Take this. Don't worry. Xiaoya looked at Su Yun in confusion. Are you really not joking with me? Of course not. Let me tell you, this watch is very expensive. If I'm joking with you, I won't be able to get this watch back, Su Yun said. Xiaoya looked at the watch. Indeed, no one would do such an unreliable thing. Moreover, Su Yun's expression was very serious. He really didn't look like he was joking. Then, if I say I'm going to Shenzhen, where will you arrange for me to go? Xiaoya probed again. Xing Kai Hotel. Su Yun said, That's the place I'm most familiar with. Chairman Yi and I have a very good relationship. I should be able to arrange a good position for you. What about Yanjing? Su Yun thought for a moment. If you're going to Yanjing, then I can't say where I'll arrange for you. I'll have to call a friend and ask. For such a small matter, Su Yun only needed to contact Fu Tian and it would be easily settled. Of course, Ma San wouldn't refuse this opportunity to help others. However, if Fu Tian were to do this, he would have a wider range of connections. Seeing that Su Yun spoke without any hesitation and didn't seem like he was lying, Xiaoya finally felt that he was reliable. What do you like to do? You can tell me and I'll see if I can arrange it for you. I'll try my best. Su Yun was trying his best. He wanted to save this girl and make it up to her, so he didn't think it was a big deal to do more. I don't know what I can do. Xiaoya shook her head. But I really want to try out at Sky Entertainment. Can you really arrange it for me? Will I be able to meet a lot of celebrities, those little fresh meats, those national goddesses? Will I be able to meet all of them? Then go to Sky Entertainment and learn well. Who knows, you might become a top manager in the future, Soo-yoon said. Sky Entertainment is the easiest. I won't have to worry about it. Sky Entertainment was the easiest? Xiaoya really wanted to roll her eyes at Soo-yoon. It was very difficult to get into a big company like Sky Entertainment. Without relevant work experience, it was impossible to get into Sky Entertainment. Everyone knew that Sky Entertainment was an entertainment giant. And in today's society, the entertainment industry was thriving day by day. Many people no longer had the pressure to survive. Their pursuit of life had changed from material to spiritual. Sky Entertainment's future was limitless. Not just anyone could get into this kind of company. You're really not lying to me? Xiaoya couldn't help but want to confirm. If I lie to you, I'll be a dog. How about this? Soo-yoon said. I promise you. Chapter 31-37. With Soo-yoon's guarantee of her safety, Xiaoya's mood was much better. Even though all of this felt like a dream to her. You still haven't told me your name, Soo-yoon said. If you work at Sky Entertainment Group, you can't just use a random name. Xiaoya smiled bitterly. It seems like you know quite a lot. Did you find a lot of girls back in China? No. Soo-yoon shook his head. But this is common knowledge. It's just like how entertainment clubs use numbers to call places. This is also common knowledge. At this moment, Xiaoya's trust in Soo-yoon had increased a lot. Yang. Soo-yoon nodded. Then from now on, I don't know this Xiaoya person. Yang nodded. I won't be this Xiaoya person anymore. After a pause, tears suddenly appeared in Yang eyes. Soo-yoon, I really don't know how to thank you. When we get back to China, I'll treat you to a meal. Okay. Soo-yoon nodded. Then I want to eat seafood. Okay. Yang didn't hesitate at all. Her answer was quite straightforward. I'll treat you to whatever you want to eat. Soo-yoon saw Yang straightforward side and laughed. Are you stupid? You should have said, if you want to eat seafood, then treat me to it in the Philippines. 1 meal in China is enough to eat 10 meals here. Yang didn't expect Soo-yoon to be joking with her. The atmosphere finally relaxed, and Yang mood finally eased. Although Lamor didn't understand Chinese, he heard the words quarrel, explain, and appease. A woman was settled by Soo-yoon in a short period of time. Lamor wasn't curious about what the two were talking about because he felt he understood. He completely understood. It was nothing more than Soo-yoon's woman being angry and angry. She blamed Soo-yoon for not coming to see her for so long. Her purpose was to ask for more money. Soo-yoon just needed to be willing to spend money. This woman would still obediently lie at his feet and serve him in the end. That was it. Lamor sneered in his heart. What else could there be between a man and a woman other than this? After Soo-yoon and Yang fell asleep, Lamor was still awake. His excitement of becoming the boss hadn't diminished at all. He didn't know how many pills he had taken that night, but he didn't show any signs of backache even after running for an entire night. Because they slept too late that night, Soo-yoon and Yang didn't get up until 9 o'clock the next morning. At this time, Lamor was still asleep. This fellow had only used the drug when it was almost dawn. He had been tossing and turning for the entire night yesterday. She was afraid that he would not be able to get up for a while. Although Lamor wasn't very reliable, and his subordinate Hindustani wasn't someone who could achieve great things, Soo-yoon was still willing to believe that they would help him do things well. The less successful a person was, the more important they would be to their immediate interests. Lamor was a typical small fry. If he was a person who could see the future, he wouldn't have betrayed his boss. After all, he still hadn't grasped the most profitable core criminal business in his hands. Killing the knockoff boxing champion so early was definitely not a good thing for him. The people of the criminal group cared most about familiarity and loyalty. Lamor and his boss could live in such a big house, definitely not just relying on the things on the streets. Although the things on the streets were very objective income, it was probably impossible to live such a luxurious life to support so many underlings. This kind of luxurious life was obviously earned by profiteering industries, such as drugs. Lamore hadn't come into contact with this business at all. Because of this, he couldn't succeed. At least in terms of supply, he wouldn't cooperate with a guy who even betrayed his boss. As long as there were other local people with intentions who could cooperate with the supplier, the huge profits would allow the other party to rise in a short period of time. As long as you had money, you could dominate. This society was so realistic and simple. People who only had fists would always help the rich to conquer the world. Those who owned the world would always be the rich. And there was a saying that a man wouldn't be rich without a windfall, and a horse wouldn't be fat without grass at night. What Lamore needed was windfall, but he didn't have the ability to earn it. This was also the reason why Su Yun didn't think highly of Lamore. He only wanted to use Lamore once and was done with it. He didn't even consider what Lamore would become in the future. At least now, he could gather a lot of people to do things for him with one sentence, and that was enough. When Lamore woke up, it was already noon. He didn't feel sorry for Su Yun at all. He just called Su Yun and Yang Ye to go to the huge observation deck on the second floor with him to eat something. The observation deck was over 100 square meters and was very large. In front of them was the coastal road and the golden beach. The sea here was very clean, so clean that it made people have the urge to take off their clothes and jump in. Just as Lamore was about to discuss future cooperation with Su Yun, an unfamiliar car appeared on the road outside his villa. A luxury car. Soon, the car stopped directly in front of the villa. The car door opened and a neatly dressed young man stepped out from the front passenger seat. He quickly opened the back door and a person Lamore didn't dare to imagine stepped out of the car. Jolshwin. Lamore may be the leader of a gang, but when faced with a core member of the country's power, he didn't know how to react. In his panic, the coffee cup in front of Lamore shattered. He stood up, unsure if he should greet him or not. "What's wrong?" Su Yun smiled at Lamore. Lamore pointed at the car downstairs. "What's wrong? Of course you don't know what's wrong. Do you know who he is?" "He is Su Yun, my good brother. I know you are here." Jolshwin's voice suddenly came from downstairs. "Aren't you going to invite me in?" Lamore was dumbfounded and he stared at Su Yun with a dumbfounded expression. This fellow, where did he come from? Even a senator from the United States Congress came to find him and called him brother? Su Yun smiled, stood up, and walked to the edge of the balcony. He lowered his head and said, "I didn't expect Big Boss to come knocking on my door so soon. It seems that no matter where I go in the Philippines, I can't escape Big Boss." "Brother, are you angry?" Jolshwin smiled and didn't explain much. He directly apologized. "Yesterday's incident was all my son's fault. I'm here today to sincerely apologize." Lamore almost peed his pants at this moment. Senator Jolshwin, a big shot from such a big political family, had come to apologize to Su Yun in front of him. Everything was far beyond Lamore's imagination. For Lamore, all of this was like a dream. "Big Boss, don't be so polite. Just come in." "I'll be downstairs immediately," Su Yun said and turned around. Lamore grabbed Su Yun. This. What's there to be nervous about? There's a guest. As the owner of the house, you should entertain him." Su Yun said, "Do you have to be so nervous?" "But I don't know what to say to him. Why would he come here?" Lamore was so nervous that he couldn't speak coherently. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. "He's here to find me. You don't have to say anything." There was a saying, "Dog meat can't be served at a banquet." It was especially suitable for Lamore. Although dogs were now labeled as good friends and could accompany humans to eat, sleep, and bathe, that was not the case in ancient times. Ancient dogs were filthy things. Even utensils that had been used to store dog meat were not allowed to be placed on the stove. The ancient people thought that dogs were lowly and had a derogatory meaning. That was why there were some curses such as dog legs, dog basket, dog f*ck, and so on. Therefore, under normal circumstances, dog meat was not eaten at banquets. Using dog meat to treat guests was an insult to the guests. Of course, modern society was different. Dogs were treasures, and a dog meat hot pot cost several large bills. Su-yun didn't mean to belittle dogs. It was just that the ancient people belittled dogs, so the saying that pigs and dogs were inferior to dogs was still used today. History and culture couldn't be changed in a day or two. Chapter 31-38. Zhou walked into the villa and looked around. The quality of the house was quite good. He knew a little about the owner of the house. He had gotten himself a fake Pacquiao and relied on some unorthodox methods to get to the top of the society. Because this guy had a good grasp of interpersonal relationships, the relevant departments turned a blind eye to some of his actions. It was normal for Zhou to have heard of this guy. Thus, when Lamour followed Su-yun downstairs to welcome them, Zhou was quite surprised. That was especially so when Su-yun told him that the trembling and incoherent guy behind him was the current owner of the house. Zhou was even more surprised. However, Zhou quickly understood. For people like him who mingled in society, it was normal for accidents to happen. Being usurped by their subordinates was also something that happened from time to time. The principles behind many things were the same. It was just like how they mingled in politics. They lived in the center of power. When they had control over everything, they were above everyone else and were respected. Once they lost control in the game of power and lost the game, they would fall harder than ordinary people. It could even be said that ordinary people did not even dare to imagine such polarization. Young and promising, Zhou gave a simple evaluation of Lamour. Then, his gaze fell on Su-yun and did not leave. Su-yun smiled. He knew the purpose of Zhou visit. In the Philippines, it's impossible to escape from the big boss's grasp. Brother, if you say that, you are blaming me. Zhou sighed. What my son did makes me feel ashamed. Although Zhou had tacitly agreed to it, he still had to pretend that he did not know anything. Su-yun said calmly, "Today, it is the big boss who came and not the Philippines police. I am already very glad. As for what happened last night, I would like to say that I'm sorry." Zhou said seriously, "I can assure you that you will not get into trouble with the police. You can rest assured." Su-yun smiled but said nothing. "As for the other small problems, I believe that since you know such a friend, you should be able to handle them." Zhou didn't even look at Lamour when he said this. Lamour was not even worth a fart in his eyes. Su-yun pointed at Lamour. "Him." Zhou smiled, but he didn't say anything. It was a tacit agreement. He knew what Su-yun meant. "Big boss, if my friend wants to protect me from being harassed by your young master, I'm afraid he's not qualified." Su-yun said, "There's a limit to what a newly promoted person can do. I'm sure Big Boss knows this very well." Zhou understood what Su-yun meant. "There are some things that I will help with." "Then, Big Boss, do you think he can establish himself here in the future?" Su-yun asked. "I still have something I need his help with. Sometimes, it's inevitable that I need the Big Boss's help." Zhou suddenly felt a sense of fear towards Su-yun. Not only was a young man able to deal with him and obtain his appreciation, but he was also able to support a puppet. In Zhou eyes, Su-yun was becoming more and more terrifying. Of course, Su-yun also understood the limits involved. If his performance exceeded Rulshuen's control, Rulshuen wouldn't treat him like this anymore. This was Su-yun's bottom line. "I have some things that I need help with, but I can't trouble Big Boss with this," Su-yun said. "I just hope Big Boss can give me some face." "Brother, I believe you already knew my identity when you found me," Zhou said. "I can't support something that violates the law." These high-sounding words were only said to reject Su-yun's request. Zhou was very cautious when doing things. He first prepared a path for himself. "Yes, Big Boss's identity is special." Su-yun smiled. "There are some things that are inconvenient for Big Boss to do, I might be able to do it. There are also some things that I can't do, Big Boss will be able to do it. Our identities are different, so the things that we do will be different. Su Yun's words caused Jolshun's spirits to rise. Given Jolshun's identity, there were indeed many things that were inconvenient for him to do. However, the appearance of a talent like Su Yun might be able to help him solve many of the problems that were causing him headaches. This was also why Jolshun wanted to get close to Su Yun and bribe Su Yun. However, Su Yun was too difficult to deal with. Jolshun was not confident that he could deal with Su Yun. It was impossible for him to let someone like Su Yun become a general who followed him everywhere. However, Su Yun did have a side that he could make use of. Take the current situation as an example. Jolshun had something that was giving him a headache. In the current game of power, he had fallen into a problem. At present, the president did not trust Jolshun. However, he was afraid of Jolshun's power and dared not make a move against him. However, once Jolshun's weakness was discovered, there was a possibility that he would be completely overthrown and kicked out of the game of power. Jolshun wanted to protect everything that he currently had. However, he was still unable to deal with the president. Many things were not formed in a day or two. Many problems could not be solved in a day or two. After a long period of consideration, Jolshun had realized that he could no longer gain the president's trust. If he wanted to maintain his power in the empire, he had to solve this problem. The vice president was in the same faction as Jolshun. They were both having headaches over this problem. How to solve the president's problem? Unfortunately, they did not have a good idea. Not long ago, Jolshun and the vice president had conspired to assassinate the president. They only had an idea about it. However, they had never made a detailed plan. The vice president was a cautious person. Even if he wanted to do something like this, he would definitely not participate. He would put all the pressure on Jolshun. As long as Raishun could accomplish this, the current vice president would naturally be able to build momentum through the election and smoothly obtain power. Once the vice president obtained power, Jolshun's power would be firmly in his hands. Therefore, this terrifying conspiracy could not be considered a conspiracy. Instead, it was a problem that the vice president had intentionally or unintentionally arranged for him. If Jolshun could solve this problem, he would be able to gain a firm foothold in the core of power. However, if he could not do it, the president might one day take the opportunity to eliminate him. This was something that Jolshun could not predict. In their circle, anything was possible. Therefore, Jolshun had to deal with it as soon as possible. He, who had been at his wit's end, suddenly saw hope when he saw Su Yun use qi to control the dice. If he could create an opportunity for Su Yun, he could even get rid of the president without anyone noticing. In this way, he would not be suspected or investigated. He could also gain more trust from the vice president. In the future, he would be more at ease in the center of power. This was the real reason why Jolshun wanted to get in touch with Su Yun. What he needed was a real expert, an expert among experts. An expert who could make a move in front of the president's bodyguards without being noticed. Jolshun knew that such an expert could only be found by chance. Since he was lucky enough to meet such an expert, if they could reach a consensus, he would let Su Yun help him solve the president's problem, regardless of the cost. However, the premise of all this was that he needed to gain Su Yun's trust and gain Su Yun's gratitude. Only then would Jolshun have the confidence to let Su Yun help him solve this problem. Otherwise, Jolshun would never dare to speak carelessly. If he failed to assassinate the president and was exposed, this crime would be enough to make his entire family unable to rise again for the rest of his life. Jolshun had to be careful. He had to be vigilant and look for an opportunity. Chapter 31-39. Only then did Jolshun begin to seriously size up Lamoa. To be honest, he really did not like this person in front of him at all. He did not have the temperament to achieve great things. Jolshun could not understand why Su Yun would choose such a person. Was it because he was easier to control? Or to put it more simply, he chose a fool to do things for him without wasting too much time. Jolshun quickly understood why Su Yun would choose such a person. It was because Lamour was a person who only cared about money and did not consider whether things should be done or not. This kind of person, to put it nicely, was naive. To put it bluntly, he was a chess piece that could be kicked away after being used. Since Brother Su has said so, how can I not give you face? Although Zhou Xuan was speaking to Lamour, he clearly told Su Yun that this was done for him. This was an olive branch that Zhou Xuan was sincerely extending to him. After saying that, Zhou Xuan even patted Lamour's shoulder. This made Lamour feel flattered and he quickly nodded. He did not know whether he should call Zhou Xuan senator or big boss, so he did not dare to speak carelessly. Don't worry. I will definitely live up to your expectations. Zhou Xuan sneered in his heart. He had no expectations of Lamour. Do your job well, especially the things my brother asks you to do. Zhou Xuan said, as long as you can do his job well, it's the same as doing my job well. Zhou Xuan's words were very straightforward. If you do my job well, I will not treat you badly. Do you understand? Yes. I understand very well. Lamour's neck was almost broken. Zhou Xuan nodded in satisfaction. Do whatever you want to do. With me around, there won't be any problems. Su Yun reached out his hand and gestured for Zhou Xuan to drink tea. Big boss, thank you in advance. There's no need to be so polite between us. Zhou Xuan shook his head. Brother, remember, your trouble is my trouble. If there's anything you can't solve, just ask. Su Yun smiled. I won't be polite with the big boss. Zhou Xuan laughed. That's great. That's exactly what I want. But I'm very interested to know what Big Boss wants me to do for you. Su Yun's expression was unreadable. Zhou Xuan was startled. I don't have anything I need you to do. Big Boss, you and I are both smart people. Su Yun had no intention of holding back at all. I'm sure you can see and understand what kind of person I am. Whether you can keep me or not, I don't need to explain anything. Zhou Xuan shook his head. I know what kind of person Brother Su is. You definitely won't force me to stay. Those who know me well know that I'm a very particular person. When Su Yun saw that Ruolai Sherwen didn't seem to have any intention of talking to him, he was even more certain that this fellow might want him to do something earth-shattering. That was how people were. The more sneaky they were, the worse it would be. Since Big Boss doesn't trust me, I won't force you. After saying that, Su Yun decided to reassure Zhou Xuan. Since Big Boss has supported me and helped me so much, I, Su Yun, am a person who knows how to repay kindness. Although I didn't take any money from Big Boss, this favor is more important than money. Ruoleshwan laughed out loud once again. What he wanted was for Su Yun to owe him a favor. Brother, there's no need to treat me like an outsider. Zhou Xuan said, I'll say it one last time. If you need me for anything, just tell me. Su Yun suddenly stretched his head forward and whispered to Zhou Xuan, Big Boss, you should be able to guess what that woman does. I've taken a liking to her and want to keep her in the country. Can you ask your subordinates to help me arrange it? Zhou Xuan was stunned. I didn't expect you to be so flirtatious. Of course, that's great. Big Boss, I'm not being unreasonable. Su Yun said, I shouldn't have troubled you with this matter. It's just a matter of buying a plane ticket to the airport. But third young master gave the order. I don't want to cause trouble, and I don't want to cause trouble for Big Boss's family. So, if Big Boss's men send her to the airport, we can avoid a lot of problems. Zhou Xuan nodded. Don't worry. I'll get someone to send her away safely. When are you going to leave? I'll get ready now. Let's go now. Su Yun glanced at Yongya. She would be in danger if she stayed here for even a minute. Zhou Xuan was someone who could turn hostile at any time. Su Yun had promised Yongya something, so he would definitely do it. Okay. Zhou Xuan said straightforwardly. He directly said something to the young secretary beside him. The secretary quickly nodded. Yongya didn't expect Su Yun to arrange this matter so quickly. Suddenly, she felt a little reluctant. But she believed that Su Yun's arrangements naturally had his reasons. She would do everything according to Su Yun's wishes. Soon, Yongya left with Jolshun's secretary. Su Yun fulfilled his promise to Yongya. Yongya left with Jolshun's secretary in Jolshun's car. So, Jolshun made a request to Su Yun. "Brother, I'm afraid I need you to send me away now." Su Yun thanked him. "Big boss, you really put a lot of thought into this matter." Jolshun smiled slightly. It was enough that Su Yun could understand his intentions. "But, big boss, it might not be safe for you to take my car." "Su Yun, I don't know if your son's people will dare to shoot at my car. If his people, big boss, is really injured, I can't bear the responsibility. Even if he gives those people 100 guts, they won't dare to shoot at me." Jolshun said. "Roll down the window. I want them to see who you are with." Su Yun gave a thumbs up and flattered. "Big boss, you are the big boss." "Awesome. Being capricious with money is nothing. Being capricious with power is the real capricious." Lamoa sent Su Yun and Jolshun out of the door with admiration. His understanding of Su Yun had risen to a new level. A Hua Xia man who could get in touch with a senator. Lamoa's imagination was not enough to guess Su Yun's identity. Before Su Yun left, he told Lamoa, "You must remember what I want you to do. You must keep an eye on the person I want you to keep an eye on." Lamoa nodded. At this moment, he was no longer doing this for money. It was because money was far inferior to power. He knew that if he could do things well for Su Yun, he could also become a member of Senator Jolshun's front line. For him, that was a qualitative rise in status. Even his previous boss did not have the ability to call a senator brother. In the future, he would have this opportunity. Once he had this identity, his position as the boss would be even more secure. Who would dare to play with him here? Lamoa's childish fantasy would obviously be the biggest stumbling block to his failure. Jolshun's attitude towards him was the same from the beginning to the end. The improvement in the middle was only because of Su Yun. Lamoa did not see this at all. He really thought that Jolshun had a good impression of him. Lamoa naively believed that Jolshun had taken a fancy to his ability. No one would believe this. Even the heartless Hindustani by Lamoa's side wouldn't believe this. Thinking of Arsan, Lamoa quickly dialed Arsan's number. He had to arrange what Su Yun wanted him to do as soon as possible. Right now, Arsan was still in a drunken stupor. He drank the whole night yesterday and took a few girls out to sleep. It was already past noon, but Arsan was still snoring thunderously. At this moment, the girls around him had already disappeared. He did not have a single cent left on him. The phone call woke Arsan up. Arsan picked up the phone in a daze and heard Lamoa's roar. "Have you had enough fun? If you've had enough, come back immediately. It's time to do business." Arsan opened his eyes in a daze and suddenly sobered up. "It's boss. I'll go see you right away." Chapter 3140. Su Yun drove Jolshun directly to Yunshao Casino. Both of their side windows were open, and anyone could see their faces clearly. Jolshun did not feel any pressure at all. Even Su Yun was not as calm as he was. After all, the third young master was definitely not someone easy to deal with for Su Yun. That guy was so ruthless. Who knew how many people he had hired to take revenge on Su Yun? Su Yun did not even need to think to know that as long as his car appeared on any main road, it would be discovered very quickly. Everything was just as Su Yun had expected. After leaving the villa for less than 5 minutes, Su Yun was already targeted by several cars. The car on the left was the first to rush up and run parallel to Su Yun. When the car window was rolled down, a black pistol was revealed. Su Yun saw this scene from the corner of his eye. In his mind, he had already begun to plan how to avoid it. It was impossible to go forward. The car in front had slowed down. It was impossible for them to give way to Su Yun. There was no need to think about the cars on the left and right. They only needed to squeeze slightly to make his car lose control. If Su Yun wanted to solve this problem, there was only one way. Emergency brakes. Although the car behind would be rear-ended, Su Yun would definitely not have any problems at this speed. As long as he held the steering wheel tightly and supported his body with his feet, no matter how fast he went, it would not be a problem. At most, Jolshwen's head would hit the car window. They were all wearing seat belts, so their lives would definitely not be in danger. However, even if that was the case, Su Yun was overthinking. When Jolshwen's side profile appeared in the pupils of the person holding the gun, the person panicked and almost dropped the gun in his hand. He put the gun away in a panic and looked at the other people in the car with a confused expression. The other cars were also different. The person on the right had a clearer view. Who else could it be but Jolshwen? The person in the car in front also saw Jolshwen in Su Yun's car through the rearview mirror. He completely lost all his previous plans. Except for the car behind, which was still unaware, everyone else obediently put away their weapons. The original kidnapping seemed to have turned into a kind of escort. The gangsters in the car behind still didn't know the truth. Seeing that the others didn't react, the guy driving the car actually crazily rammed into the rear of Su Yun's car. Due to the violent impact, Jolshwen's head slammed into the center console, causing a red swelling to appear on his forehead. The car on the right quickly slowed down and shouted to the people in the car behind, "Didn't you King see who was in the car? It's the big boss. Third young master's father is in the car." Wang. Everyone in the car behind him was also dumbfounded. Did the driver kidnap Senator Jolshwen? The big boss of Cloudy Sky Casino. No one dared to act rashly. If they hurt Yoris Sherwin because of Su Yun, it would be the same as giving themselves a death sentence. Only a madman would take such a risk and gamble on his marksmanship. Only a fool would crash into his car and do such a crazy thing. Compared to protecting Jolshwen's safety, Su Yun's life instantly became an extremely small matter. Why was Jolshwen in the car of the person third young master wanted to kidnap? This matter couldn't be explained. Anyone who dared to act rashly would be courting death. Is third young master crazy? Why would he do such a thing? Someone had already started yelling. Doing something dangerous to a senator was punishable by death. No one knew how many years they would be locked up for. Could it be that he wants to usurp the throne? Someone exclaimed. The rational person thought about it and knew that it was absolutely impossible. Unless he's crazy. Without the support of power. So what if third young master took over Cloudy Sky Casino? If it weren't for Jolshwen's power behind the scenes, Cloudy Sky Casino wouldn't have become such a famous landmark in the Philippines. Therefore, unless third young master's brain was flooded with water, he wouldn't think of usurping the throne. After seeing Jolshwen, no one dared to act rashly. Everyone consciously became the protectors of Su Yun's car, escorting Su Yun all the way to Cloudy Sky Casino safely. Along the way, there were more than a dozen cars that noticed the situation one after another. However, no one dared to do anything rash. Su Yun finally arrived at the entrance of Cloudy Sky Casino and stopped the car. Jolshwen got out with a gloomy face. As the scene of more than a dozen cars escorting at the entrance was too big, someone immediately notified third young master. Third young master thought that they had captured Su Yun, so he grabbed a gun and rushed out directly. He didn't expect to almost bump into his father, who was walking into the casino. Third young master couldn't close his mouth. His father was actually with Su Yun. Jolshwen's face was very ugly. His forehead was red and swollen because of the impact, and his glabella was a little dark. "Dad, what happened to you?" Third young master was a guy who knew how to do things. When he saw that his father's head was injured, he immediately went forward to ask. Jolshwen glared at his son. "You still have the nerve to ask me how I got injured? Of course, it's because of your people. If it wasn't for Su Yun, I would have been killed by your people." Jolshwen's roar was full of dignity, and no one dared to make a sound. Third young master's heart thumped, and his anger rose. That bunch of trash. They didn't even use their brains when they did things, and they actually hurt his father. This was simply unforgivable. "Who?" Third young master raised his gun and shouted at the dozen cars. "Who the F***CK hit me?" There was a dead silence. If you don't think it's embarrassing enough, you can continue to shout outside. Jolshwin said, whenever you feel embarrassed, you can get your ass in here. Third young master held his breath and pointed at the group of people outside. You don't want to admit it, right? Let me tell you, if you admit it now, it'll be another result. If I find out, it'll be another result. Give yourself a chance. After saying that, third young master turned around. Come to my office, Jolshwin said in a low voice. Third young master held back his anger and looked at Su Yun. Su Yun was looking at him with a smile, and third young master was very unhappy with third young master's smug look. At this moment, the guy who hit Su Yun and Jolshwin with his car actually ran into the lobby of Cloud Building and knelt down with a thud. He said in a tearful voice, Third young master, I didn't do it on purpose. It's all a misunderstanding, an accident. I didn't know that your father was in the car. I thought there was only this Hua Xia that you asked us to kill. If I knew that your father was in the same car as him, I wouldn't have dared to talk back. Third young master's anger exploded. If this guy didn't come in and say this, he could still deny that he was the one who sent people to deal with Su Yun. But now, this guy actually revealed everything to him. He didn't even have the chance to grit his teeth and endure it. Third young master, who was holding the pistol in his hand, didn't choose to endure it again. He turned around and took 2 big steps toward this damn bastard. He held the pistol in his hand directly to this guy's head. Then you can go to hell. Third young master said fiercely and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! The gunshot reverberated in the lobby, and everyone was shocked. Even the people outside the building heard the gunshot. All of this was simply too crazy. Third young master actually killed someone in front of everyone. People like them who had power, money, and status had all done some dirty things, illegal things, and even things that didn't treat other people's lives as human lives. But in today's society that paid attention to human rights, no one dared to kill people in front of everyone. This matter had really gotten out of hand. But third young master did it. Jolshwin sucked in a breath of cold air. He was really driven crazy by this damn bastard of a son. There were so many people at the scene, and there were so many people outside. Once someone took photos or got evidence, his career in power might end because of this unfilial son. Damn it! Jolshwin cursed in his heart, but he still had to remain calm. He said to his men, seal off the scene immediately. No one is allowed to leave. Arrange a place for them to calm down. Get someone to clean up the scene immediately. If anyone says anything about what happened today, I'll make him die 10 times worse than this damn bastard. Chapter 31-41. Jolshwin was more worried than anyone else that this matter would be exposed. He could easily suppress private matters, but it was difficult to completely control things that happened in broad daylight. It was just like how it did not matter how much trouble they caused last night. Even if Su Yun killed another 5 people, he would have enough time to arrange for someone to deal with it. After all, no one saw what happened in the room. It was different now. At least a dozen people had seen the scene of the third young master killing someone in public. There were also dozens of people outside who heard the gunshot. It was not easy to cover it up. Many things were more difficult than expected. Father, this bastard dared to hit you. He deserves to die. The third young master knew that he had done wrong, but he still had to explain. He had to let his father feel that everything he did was for his father's sake and out of filial piety. Only then would his father forgive him. The third young master rushed in front of Jolshwin and looked nervously at his injured forehead. Although the third young master's acting was very real, it still could not escape his father's eyes. Jolshwin slapped the third young master hard. The gun in the third young master's hand fell to the ground with a thud. There was a saying that no one knew a son better than his father. Jolshwin, of course, knew his son well. The third young master knew how to act since he was young. This was not a secret at all. Every time he made a mistake, he would use this method to avoid the punishment that should be his. Perhaps it was because he had succeeded so many times that the third young master always felt that as long as he did this, his father would not punish him. However, It was useless this time. Jolshwin had no intention of forgiving his son at all. If you want to be a fool, then get out of the house. Don't drag me down with you. Jolshwin's words were harsh. If you still want to be my son, then figure out what your status is. Know what you should do and what you shouldn't do. The third young master lowered his head and admitted his mistake. He did not dare to resist. If he continued to throw a tantrum, his father would really be angry and throw him out. Then, no one would be able to help him. I'm telling you, this is the last time I forgive you for this kind of mistake. If you continue to cause trouble for me, I'll kick you out of the Philippines forever. Jolshwin roared, I'll pretend that I don't have a son like you. His anger caused Jolshwin to lose his rationality. He raised his leg and kicked the third young master in the stomach. Third young master was kicked 2 meters away. If it weren't for the people beside him quickly stopping Jolshwin, he might have stepped forward and stomped his feet a few more times. As a father, as the father of a powerful empire, he had reason to be angry. None of his 3 sons could truly inherit the power he had worked so hard for. Wasn't this a tragedy for him? Look at how other political families were getting stronger and stronger. Through marriage, through cooperation, and through children inheriting their father's business, each family was constantly expanding their own connections, relationships, and abilities in the game of power in the Philippines. They were expanding their own teams and family battle lines. As for Jolshwin, he had no intention of being the biggest failure. His 2 sons, who originally had unlimited potential, had left him. The remaining one by his side couldn't do anything at all. How could Jolshwin not feel anxious and pained when he saw his peers starting to take control of some central authority? How could he not want to be like them? But he didn't have the chance to do so. Jolshwin was despised by the president because there was no successor. That was because he was a force that no one thought highly of. Everyone thought that he was the pinnacle of his family. If he collapsed, no one would be able to support his family. All of this was because of his children's incompetence. It made it so difficult for him to play this game of power. If his sons could be more reliable and become his right-hand men, would he still have to bow down in front of the president? He would have been able to hold his head high. Perhaps he could become the president after the next presidential election. This way, his family would be able to leave a deep mark in the history of the Philippines. However, all of this was just Jolshwin's fantasy. He didn't even have the support of his own sons. He was really powerless. Dad, I've already admitted my mistake. Third young master got up. If you still think you haven't vented your anger, then go ahead and do it. I'll accept all the punishments. Do you think I won't dare to do anything to you? Jolshwin stared at his son and said, If killing you can save me from today's trouble, I won't hesitate to take your life. Jolshwin's words made third young master's heart turn cold. Third young master didn't expect his father to say such serious words. This was something he had never expected. I don't want to talk nonsense with you anymore. Follow me to the office upstairs immediately. Jolshwin waved his hand and left. Su-yun watched this scene and felt that third young master's son was really aggrieved. Normal fathers wouldn't treat their sons like this. Jolshwin was a person who had been brainwashed by power. That was why he did things this way. Power was the most important thing in Jolshwin's heart. His son could only be ranked second. He would never surpass the power in his heart. Third young master still didn't say anything. He silently followed behind Su-yun and Ruolai Sherwin and went upstairs together. Naturally, Jolshwin's trusted subordinates would deal with the matters below. He had dealt with such matters many times over the years, so he trusted his subordinates completely. If his subordinates were to deal with it, there would still be a leak. He couldn't blame them. It would mean that he was done for. Jolshwin returned to his office and sat down heavily on the chair. Su-yun didn't stand on ceremony with him. He turned around and sat on the sofa. Third young master was the only one standing in front of his father's desk. He didn't dare to sit down, but he also felt unwilling to stand there. If Su-yun wasn't there, he could stand however he wanted. He could even kneel in front of his father. However, there was an outsider beside him now. He definitely felt conflicted. No one wanted to be scolded in front of an outsider. Even a 2-year-old child knew how to save face. Moreover, third young master was already in his 20s. Big boss, let's forget about today's matter. Third young master was worried about you, so he acted impulsively. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done such a thing. Su-yun smiled slightly. He was helping third young master to excuse himself? Haha. If Jolshwin believed him, he would have believed him long ago. He wouldn't have waited for Su-yun to say it. Of course, Su-yun wouldn't excuse someone who wanted to kill him. Jolshwin took a deep breath. His voice was trembling. I didn't expect you to be so open-minded. You would actually excuse him. You clearly know that he was so angry that he wanted to kill someone. It wasn't because of me. I did it because of you, Dad. Third young master said unhappily. This was the highest level of lying. The liar would feel that he wasn't lying. Jolshwin glared at third young master. You killed someone because they couldn't help you kill Su-yun. However, you couldn't kill Su-yun in front of me. That's why you're venting your anger on other people. I gave birth to you. Do you think I don't understand you? If you don't shut your mouth, I'll teach you a lesson. Third young master couldn't refute his father's words. Su-yun waved his hand. That's not necessary. There's no need to be so calculative between father and son. It's just a small matter. The wind will blow it over. Everything will be gone. Third young master looked at Su-yun impatiently. He was extremely disgusted with Su-yun. However, he couldn't say anything because his father was present. He could only endure it. The resentment was almost turning into a disease. Third young master, don't look at me like that. I did what I did yesterday to protect myself. Don't blame anyone. Su-yun smiled. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Or blame your subordinates for being useless. Last night, that was... Third young master was about to speak when Jolshwin interrupted him. You still have the cheek to talk about yesterday? Jolshwin glared at his son. He hoped that his son knew what he should say and what he shouldn't say. Third young master was stunned. His father knew about what happened yesterday. Was he going to speak ill of him for something that he had tacitly agreed to? Chapter 31-42. Su-yun smiled faintly. He already knew what Riashiwan was thinking. Big boss, if third young master has anything to say, then let him say it. Some things will make people feel better if they are said out loud. Although he made a mistake, he is still a child. How can a child not make mistakes? Give him a chance. I don't need you to pretend to be nice to me. Third young master glared at Su-yun. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't be in such a miserable state. Su-yun shrugged. I'm just helping you. I don't need you to help me, third young master said. If I could kill you yesterday, I wouldn't have to be so humble today. Shut up. Jolshwin would have kicked third young master if they weren't separated by a desk. Third young master didn't lose his temper after being scolded. He just stared coldly at Su-yun. Jolshwin pointed at third young master and said, Look at all the good things you've done. Do you still think you're in the right? Dad, it's just a matter of opportunity. If I had taken advantage of it, would you still be scolding me? Third young master said. It's just that I didn't take advantage of it. Jolshwin was trembling with anger. Moreover, if my people can really destroy him, then he is no longer something that can be used in your eyes. At that time, you won't feel any regret, right? Jolshwin grabbed a weak alkaline intelligent negative ion water cup from the desk and threw it at third young master. This kind of cup was quite heavy. Third young master was hit on the head, and the pain made him feel abnormally angry. If it wasn't for the fact that this cup was thrown by his father, he really would have pounced on it and torn it apart. Boss, that's not how you educate your child, Su-yun said with a smile. He was just watching the show. Third young master clenched his teeth and looked at the cup on the floor. The cup was a father's gift to his dad, but his dad had thrown it at him like it was trash. Disappointment, anger, confusion, and all sorts of grievances welled up in his heart. Look, third young master is about to cry. Big boss, don't lecture him anymore. Su Yun said, "It's fine as long as the child knows his mistake. Why do you have to do this, right? It's just that I haven't taught him well since he was young. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up like this today." Joel Squin was exasperated. Su Yun patted Yorishwen's shoulder and said, "No matter how useless she is still your biological child. If you think about it more, you might be able to let it go." Rulshuen was speechless. If he wasn't his own son, he would have strangled him to death. Third young master looked at Su Yun with a cold smile. "What exactly do you want to do? Stop trying to sow discord." Sowing discord? Jolshwin turned around and glared at his son. "Let me tell you, if it weren't for Su Yun, I would have crippled you long ago." The third young master snorted coldly. He didn't believe that Su Yun would do or say anything that was beneficial to him. In his opinion, Su Yun was just pretending. In fact, he wanted to find a way to make his father kill him. "Since you know that I am my father's biological child, you should know that no matter what I do, my father will forgive me." Third young master looked at Su Yun coldly. "No matter how many tricks you use, I won't do anything to you in the end." "That's right." Su Yun nodded and didn't say anything else. Now, Rulshwin should know what to do. With such a scammer, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be used against him before he solved the president's problem. "Guards!" Rulshwin shouted angrily. 2 bodyguards in black quickly walked into Rulshwin's office. "Take him away. Lock him up. Without my order, no one is allowed to see him. No one is allowed to see him except for his 3 meals a day." Rulshwin pointed at his disappointing son and scolded, "If I find out that anyone dares to talk to him, I will cut off your tongues. If anyone goes to see him without permission, I will cut off your legs." The 2 bodyguards in black were stunned. Rulshwin didn't ask them to capture Su Yun, but third young master. "Do you understand?" "Yes." "Understood." The 2 bodyguards in black held the third young master down without saying a word. Third young master was shocked. He struggled and looked at Rulshwin in confusion. "Father, you will regret this. You are treating your own son like this for an outsider? Think about it. Who is the closest person to you that you should trust the most? I should have disciplined you like this when you were young. If I had done that, you wouldn't be causing trouble for me today." Rulshwin waved his hand. "Take him away." "Father, you will regret this." Third young master continued to struggle. The 2 bodyguards in black didn't dare to hurt third young master, but they also didn't dare to let him go. "If the 2 of you can't even take him away and lock him up, then get out of here and quit your jobs." Rulshwin glared at the 2 bodyguards in black. "I don't keep useless people around." Since their boss had said such harsh words, they didn't dare to waste any more time. The 2 bodyguards exerted their strength and took third young master away. Third young master's shouts and curses echoed throughout the corridor. "If only I had disciplined him since he was young and not spoiled him so much." Rulshwin shook his head helplessly. "Third young master was born in such a good family," Su Yun smiled slightly. "In Huaxia, there is a saying that goes, 'Children of the poor become masters of the family early.'" Rulshwin shook his head. "This saying doesn't work in the Philippines at all." Su Yun nodded. He also understood what Rulshwin meant. Actually, in Huaxia, it's the same. There are very few successful cases. Children of the poor have no chance of becoming masters of the family. Rulshwin's expression was very calm when he said this. This was especially true in a country like the Philippines. The families that played with power and politics were all wealthy families. Without the support of money, no political family could succeed. Their game was similar to that of the American Empire. The political stage was only so big, and there were only so many positions in the center of power. Over and over again, back and forth, it was a fixed competition between a few clans. It was like a Ferris wheel. The number of seats was fixed, but sometimes they were high and sometimes they were low. Between each other, it was just the principle of what goes around comes around. As for the children of the poor, they had no chance of getting close to the center of power. The current era was different from the past. Moreover, as society developed, it became more and more so. The poorer the poor, the richer the rich. This was a very simple truth. Except for a few exceptions, most people were like this. The saying that the poor would not last more than 3 generations, and the rich would not last more than 3 generations, was all nonsense. If people were really poor like those in the mountains, they would continue to be poor without any help. There was no end to it. Being rich was also an empire. Huaxia was not a country like the American Empire that robbed the rich to help the poor. Huaxia would not face the terrifying inheritance tax of the rich. Even if it was expropriated, the truly rich would still have ways to avoid it. The people who were expropriated were still ordinary people. Therefore, being rich meant being rich for countless generations. Nowadays, the nouveau riche would buy an entire street or building. Even 10 generations would not be able to squander away all these assets that could still generate income. Moreover, the children of the rich would be exposed to more things from a young age. Their business acumen was also better. Under such circumstances, there would not be the so-called gnawing on everything until nothing was left. As long as you had money, anyone would be fated with you. If they were fated to meet, they would meet even if they were thousands of miles apart. The more friends you had, the more connections you would have. The rich families would become richer and richer. This was the simple truth. It could even be said that when they had more money, they would be able to fight in the stock market. They could save the market by injecting funds. When the stock market rose, the individual investors would think that they were saved and desperately invest money to turn the situation around. However, the money they earned would be withdrawn and the individual investors would be trapped. This was also the reason why the rich would become richer. Because in this world, there was almost no problem that money could not solve. As long as a problem could be solved, there would be benefits and benefits. No one could deny this point. People like Raishuen who played with power were more powerful than the rich who played with economics. Some of the specific things that he said were not things that ordinary people could understand. Chapter 31:43. Just as the third young master was taken away, someone rushed into Jolshuen's office. Big boss. Bad news. The person who rushed into the office was out of breath. The people outside are not easy to control. Someone escaped during the chaos. Jolshuen slapped the table with all his might. His palms were red from the slap. His eyes flashed with helplessness, anger, anxiety, and uneasiness. What a bunch of useless people. Can't even handle such a small matter? Big boss, it's mainly because there are too many people. We don't have enough manpower. Enough, no need to explain. Go and check the surveillance footage. Find out the identity of the person who ran away immediately. Do everything you can to catch him. Jolshuen said, also, inform the people at the presidential palace. If there are any movements, inform me immediately. Understood. Understood. If you mess this up again, I will take your lives. Jolshuen roared. Hurry up and catch him. Seeing Joli Showen's actions, it wasn't hard for Su Yun to imagine what kind of state third young master was in yesterday. He must have been like his father, shouting and yelling at his subordinates so that they could catch him as soon as possible. Big boss, even if someone ran away, you don't have to be so anxious. Su Yun smiled. With your status, who would dare to talk nonsense? Brother, you are thinking too simply. Jolshuen shook his head. The society of the Philippines is very complicated. It is not as simple as you think. The things I have to be wary of are far beyond what you can imagine. Is that so? Su Yun pretended to be surprised. With your status as a senator, you can't protect the third young master? Joel Schwinn shook his head. If he is used by someone, forget about protecting him, I might not even be able to protect myself. It can't be that bad, right? Su Yun said. Then this matter must be dealt with properly as soon as possible. Joel Schwinn sighed. This is completely different from what happened last night. No matter what you do, I can think of a way to protect you, because the relationship between you and me is even simpler. No one can use you to pose any threat to me. Even if I want to protect you, there's nothing to worry about. Su Yun nodded. I understand. The more close you are to someone, the more difficult it will be for you to do certain things. That's right. Joel Schwinn sighed. I was most afraid that this bastard would cause me such trouble. But in the end, he didn't let me down. He really did cause me trouble. If third young master's matter threatens your status, you will. Su Yun paused deliberately and waved his hand in embarrassment. I'm sorry, big boss. I shouldn't have said such things. Joris Schwen chuckled and said, It's nothing. I know what you mean. Su Yun said, I still shouldn't have said such things. Brother, you don't have to think so much. I like Hua Xia's culture very much. I also like to study Hua Xia's thick black theory. Joel Schwinn said indifferently, in ancient times, there was an emperor called Liu Bang. He was able to achieve great things because he was ruthless and shameless. Really? Su Yun didn't expect this guy to know so much about thick black theory. Joel Schwinn said indifferently, I heard a story about ancient Hua Xia. It said that Liu Bang besieged a tyrant called Xiang Yu. The other party held on for several months. Xiang Yu even captured Liu Bang's father and threatened Liu Bang, saying that he would cook Liu Bang's father. Su Yun nodded. Basically, everyone in Hua Xia has heard of this story. Liu Bang said that he and Xiang Yu were both under Lord Huai's orders and they were sworn brothers. His father was Xiang Yu's father. If Xiang Yu cooked his father, it would be the same as cooking his own father. Then, he would have a share of the pie. Joel Schwinn gave him a thumbs up. Someone who could say something like this was obviously not an ordinary person. Anyone who wasn't ruthless enough wouldn't have dared to think about cooking someone who used his own father. I'm impressed. Joel Schwinn said. Su Yun smiled. So, if it was the big boss, he would do the same? Of course. Joel Schwinn nodded. If you want to achieve great things, you have to take things lightly. Look at all the emperors in Hua Xia over the past 5,000 years. Which one of them wasn't ruthless and shameless? Su Yun didn't deny it. Especially the founding emperor. Joel Schwinn said. If he couldn't do that, he wouldn't have been able to achieve great things. So, if there was a special situation, you would rather sacrifice your son to protect your status. Joel Schwinn looked out the window. If I lost my son, I can always have another one. In Joel Schwinn's eyes, this was what a great man was like. Now, Joel Schwinn was feeling very pressured. Danger lurked everywhere, making him restless. Brother. Joel Schwinn suddenly lowered his voice. If something happens to me, I'm afraid I won't be able to help you ensure that some of the things you want to do will go smoothly. Then nothing can happen to the big boss. Su Yun smiled. Otherwise, who will help me? With your abilities, there are too many people who want to help you, Joel Schwinn said. Joel Schwinn said, but there's one thing. My abilities are more comprehensive. None of them can do what I do. What do you think? Su Yun smiled but didn't say anything. Of course, except for the president. Joel Schwinn continued, but with the president's high status and arrogance, I'm afraid he won't care about you, brother. Su Yun didn't know what Joel Schwinn was trying to say, but he could sense that Joel Schwinn had something to ask of him. Now, he was going to say it. So, I won't allow anyone to touch you, big boss. Su Yun joked. If someone cuts off your path, that is the same as cutting off my path. I will definitely be irreconcilable with that person. When Joel Schwinn heard Su Yun's words, an imperceptible smile appeared on his face. No matter how big of a stumbling block that person is, you still dare to help me? Joel Squin said in a joking tone, what if that person is the president? What are you going to do? Are you going to help me or betray me? Su Yun's heart thumped. Joel Squin, that old bastard, was serious. Jokes about the president were not to be casually made, especially under such circumstances. No matter how happy Joel Squin was, it could not hide his wild ambition. Su Yun was certain that the biggest opponent in Joel Squin's heart was the president. The president wanted to take action against him. That was why he wanted to resist. It was no wonder Joel Squin had been so attentive to Su Yun. Nowadays, it was rare to find someone who could help him solve such a big problem. Su Yun put himself in Joel Squin's shoes and thought that he was indeed a very good choice. Since Su Yun's face was unfamiliar, and his strength was unfathomable to Joel Squin. Since he could control the dice remotely, Su Yun did not even need a gun or bullets to kill people. This was why Joel Squin wanted to gain Su Yun's trust so badly. It seemed that the old bastard had been prepared for this for a long time. Su Yun smiled. Since that was the case, he would go along with Joel Squin's plan. Big boss, you just said that the president doesn't like people like me. Ha ha ha. Even if I want to betray him, he won't appreciate it. Why should I humiliate him like that? Joel Squin looked at Su Yun, hoping to get the answer he wanted. If protecting the big boss can protect the benefits I want, of course I will choose your side. Su Yun knew in his heart that there was no need to spend money. Of course, he could not really help Joel Squin take action against the president of the Philippines. Su Yun was not an assassin. Changing the structure of the country would have a serious impact on the entire world. Who would dare to do such a thing? If Su Yun really did depose the president of the Philippines, there would be no need for him to look for the beast head. He would go directly to the International Military Court to be tried. He would never be able to make a comeback. This was not a small mistake. Chapter 31-44. Joel Squin looked at Su Yun seriously and said, Brother, I'm not joking with you today. If what you said is true. Huh? What if I'm telling the truth? Su Yun. At that moment, Su Yun was still uncertain. If Joel Squin asked him to kill the president of the Philippines now, what should he do? It was impossible for him to go to the presidential palace and assassinate the president. No matter how good the opportunity was, Su Yun could not do it. If Joel Squin asked Su Yun to help him kill someone, even if he was not the president, he would not agree. That was because there was a fundamental difference. Although Su Yun knew how to kill people and knew how to kill people, he also knew when and what kind of people deserved to die. If he only listened to other people's orders to kill people, he would be no different from a professional assassin. However, if he wanted to continue using Joel Squin, Su Yun could not turn his back on him. It was quite contradictory. Su Yun was worried that if Joel Squin asked him to do something that violated his principles, he would not be able to find a way to get back at him. I also hope that what you said is true. Joel Squin did not continue. If the person who ran away today is not caught, I might be threatened. Big Boss wants me to help you catch the person? Su Yun asked. Joel Squin smiled bitterly and shook his head. If I ask you to do something like that, it would be a waste of your talent. I am not the kind of person who can't tell how difficult it is to do something. If I were that kind of person, I wouldn't be sitting in this building today. Big Boss, this matter is troublesome enough, Su Yun said. If you can't catch the person, you might have to resort to extreme measures. How can you still be so calm? It is because I have you by my side that I can be so calm, Joel Squin said to Su Yun. Extreme measures. You are my first choice. If I were you, I wouldn't put all my hope on one person. Su Yun shook his head. Anyone can fail. Big Boss, have you ever thought about this? Joel Squin nodded. Of course, I've thought about this. But brother, have you forgotten what I do? I run a casino. Gambling is a kind of luck for me. I believe that I will definitely win. Su Yun didn't say anything else. Things seemed to have gotten worse. He could not tell when Joel Squin would ask him to help him deal with the president of the Philippines. Once Jolshwin made this request, it would mean the end of the cooperation between Su Yun and Jolshwin. To be honest, Su Yun did not wish for this to happen. In order to attract Zhou Sherwen's attention, in order to befriend Zhou Sherwen, Su Yun had spent a lot of effort. This was much more difficult than recruiting a few ruffians. If Leshwin had taken Su Yun's bait so quickly, it was because he had his own unspeakable ambitions. Moreover, up until now, Su Yun really believed Jolshwin's words about the power in his hands. Why was the president unhappy with him? Perhaps it was because of the multifaceted power in his hands. He was a very suitable candidate. If he was removed, it would be difficult for Su Yun to find another big tiger that belonged to the Philippines. Of course, there was nothing difficult in this world. As long as one was willing to put in the effort, the problem could be solved. There would definitely be a second big tiger, but Su Yun did not have much time left. The Sacred Flame mercenary group should be appearing in the Philippines soon. They could not be running around with their treasures. This was also one of the things that Su Yun was worried about. He did not know when a fierce battle would break out. Zhou Sherwen saw the anxiety on Su Yun's face. He smiled. "Brother, you seem to have realized what I want you to do." Su Yun raised his head and denied Zhou Sherwen's words. "If you don't tell me, how can I guess?" "Ha ha ha." Zhou Sherwen raised his head and laughed. "I don't want that to happen either. Brother, don't worry so much. Even if you don't want to help me with something, I will still treat you as a friend." Really? If Su Yun said that he believed Zhou Sherwen at this time, it would be too fake. "Big boss, when you say these words, are you treating me like a 3-year-old child?" Su Yun said bluntly. Zhou Sherwen's smile was a little awkward. However, the more he acted like this, the more Zhou Sherwen felt that Su Yun was a real person. He would not doubt a real person. "If I am a piece of trash that can't help you with anything and have no value, why would you value me?" Su Yun said, "There are so many people in this world. If you don't have anything for me to do and just want to make friends, why don't you find someone else to make friends with?" Zhou Sherwen did not deny it. He smiled and silently agreed with everything Su Yun said. "I admit that I have my own goals." Su Yun said, "I want to seek revenge in the Philippines. I want to deal with a few people that I want to deal with. If I cause a big mess, I need a friend who can help me solve the problem. That's why I came to you." Su Yun's words were so direct that Zhou Sherwen was a little taken aback. "Big boss, we're not children anymore, especially at your age." Su Yun said, "To put it bluntly, some friends are only made to make use of each other. If there is no value in making use of each other, then there is no point in making friends." Zhou Sherwen looked at Su Yun with a cold gaze. However, Su Yun's words showed that they were making use of each other. To him, it was not a bad thing. Friends can only be made when you make use of each other. This is really brilliant. "Big boss, this is only between you and me." Su Yun smiled slightly. In this life, people need a few close friends who are not made use of each other. Zhou Sherwen laughed. "This is also brilliant. Big boss, so there is no need for hypocrisy and pretentiousness between us." Su Yun said, "Making use of each other is just making use of each other. It is a win-win situation for everyone. After a long time, the relationship between friends will naturally become stronger. Just based on what you said, I will really treat you as a friend." Zhou Sherwen said, "I believe that when I need you, you will help me. Because you need me now, I will help you deal with it very well." Fortunately, there was good news at this time. The 2 people who escaped at the scene were caught. One of them was a bystander who did not know the truth. When he saw that someone was about to catch him, he quickly ran away. As for why he ran, he did not know. He was just afraid. As for the other person, there was more. As expected, he ran directly to the president's palace. He was stopped by Zhou Sherwen's men at the president's palace and then detained. Since Zhou Sherwen had planted people at the president's palace, the president would naturally arrange for some people to gather evidence around Zhou Sherwen. This was because everyone was very careful now. The people around them were all people they trusted absolutely. It was very difficult to get people to join their side. However, they could still get some passers-by to mix around each other. Although they could not get close to the core, some important things would sometimes happen around them. For example, today's incident of third young master shooting. As long as this incident reached the president's ears, the president would arrange for someone to investigate Jolai Sherwin. Jolai Sherwin would definitely be in big trouble. This incident could destroy his entire power empire. He would be reduced to an ordinary person because of his unfilial son. All his family assets would be confiscated because of this incident. Then, through various corrupt methods, they would flow into the pockets of other powerful families. Jolai Sherwin would still break out in cold sweat when he thought of the consequences. However, fortunately, the person was caught. As long as this kind of person was killed, none of this would happen. Soo-yoon knew that someone would die soon. However, he did not feel sorry for that person. Since he chose to do this kind of thing, he had to bear the risks he had to bear. The only person who would benefit now was him. At least, he would not hear Jolai Sherwin asking him to deal with the president tonight. Chapter 31:45. Soo-yoon could put down his worries for the time being. He also did not need to worry about this fellow making things difficult for him and forcing him to do things that he could not cross. Although third young master had gone to reflect on his mistakes, he did not think that he had done anything wrong. Soo-yoon waited for news from Yong-ye until she had boarded the plane safely. Only then did he feel relieved. Jolshwin smiled and asked Soo-yoon, "Was it because you didn't trust me at first? Were you afraid that I would take your woman somewhere else?" A look of unease suddenly flashed across Soo-yoon's face. He could not understand what Jolshwin meant by that. Was Yong-ye really safe, or was it just a facade? Soo-yoon somewhat regretted his decision. He should not have let Jolshwin send Yong-ye off alone. Jolshwin's words seemed to be a reminder to Soo-yoon not to lose his trust in him. Otherwise, Yong-ye would be in danger. Soo-yoon tried his best not to reveal anything. He smiled and said, "Big boss, if that is the case, I will take my leave first." "Are you not going to stay for a cup of tea?" Jolshwin asked with a smile. Soo-yoon shook his head and said, "No thanks. Big boss has many identities. You must be very busy. I do not want to disturb you." "Then I will not force you to stay," Jolshwin said with a smile. "Let's have dinner together tonight if you have time." "No need." Soo-yoon shook his head. Before he left, he turned around and said, "Oh right. Big boss, remember to remind third young master that I do not like to forgive people a second time." Jolshwin's expression clearly tensed up. "If someone wants to harm me, I can choose to forgive them the first time," Soo-yoon said calmly as though he was narrating a boring report. "However, if there is a second time, I will not be lenient. This principle applies to everyone." After saying that, Soo-yoon turned around and left, closing the door behind him. Yoris Sherwin was left alone in shock. Soo-yoon's words had a hidden meaning. Not only did he want Yoris Sherwin to say it to his son, but he also said it to Yoris Sherwin. What Regis Sherwin had done to Yong-ye was to harm Soo-yoon, and this was the first time. After Yong-ye was taken away by Jolshwin's men, she did not go to the airport. By the time Yong-ye realized that something was wrong, it was already too late for her to resist. If Rishwin's men had guns, Yong-ye would naturally say whatever she was told when the guns were pointed at her head. The phone call just now was made under Yong-ye's coercion. She had no way to inform Soo-yoon, nor did she know how to let Soo-yoon know of her situation. After leaving Soo-yoon, she really thought that she could go back and pack her things. Then she would take a plane and fly to Hwaseong and Qingdao. She would work as a small employee in Qingdao's Sky Entertainment Group. She would rely on her own efforts to make money for her brother's education and for her unreliable parents to retire. However, none of this happened. After Yong-ye got into the car, she was taken to an underground warehouse behind Yunshao Casino. She had no choice and was completely powerless to resist. Without Soo-yoon, She had no idea how to deal with the trouble. At this moment, she was just a girl who was afraid of getting hurt and dying. She was powerless to resist these forces. "I've done everything according to your wishes. Please don't hurt me." After Yang Ye hung up the call with Su Yun, she looked at the people around her carefully. However, these people had no intention of stopping. "Sister, you women are only after money. If we give you money, will you do anything?" Someone suddenly had an evil thought. Yang Ye was beautiful to begin with. Coupled with her seductive appearance, no man would be able to resist her. If it was a normal day, these people would not dare to act recklessly. Although the Philippines was a little chaotic, it was not like the Indian countries, where the streets and alleys were filled with violence and coercion against women. However, today was different. Today, this woman was captured personally by the big boss. Even if something happened, the big boss would be there to support them. They wouldn't be punished. Thinking of this, the evil in everyone's heart began to grow. Some of them could not wait to make a move. Yang Ye struggled with all her might and kicked the evil men around her. "Don't come over. If you come over, I'll. Yang Ye's scream and nervousness made the men around her unable to control their evil thoughts. Just as the situation was about to get out of control, there was a knock on the door of the warehouse. A few men who were about to take off their clothes and make a move stopped. One of them quickly went forward and asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" "The big boss is here." A loud voice came from outside the door. The people in the warehouse quickly opened the door. A few of them had already unbuttoned their shirts and belts, and they hurriedly tidied up their clothes. When the door of the warehouse opened, Jolshwin saw the frightened Yang Ye at first glance. Then, he saw his men who were disheveled. "What did you do to her?" Jolshwin's voice was calm. He did not seem to blame anyone. Big boss. We didn't do anything to her. We just wanted to scare her," the leader explained. The others echoed, yes. We just wanted to scare her." Jolshwin nodded and walked toward Yang Ye. "Sister-in-law, you don't have to be afraid. I'm here. You can tell me everything they did to you. I'll make the decision for you." Yang Ye was scared to death just now. But for some reason, after seeing Jolshwin, the fear in her heart disappeared. Yes, it completely disappeared. "Bah!" Yang Ye spat at Jolshwin. "You're really a despicable and shameless person. Su Yun won't let you off." Jolshwin's men were furious when she spat at him, but he raised his hand to stop them. He took out a tissue and wiped his face. "Sister-in-law, you've misunderstood. It must be my men's fault. That's why you've misunderstood. I'm just being nice." Yang Ye could not calm down. She looked at Jolshwin excitedly. "I just want you to come back with my brother Su Yun and give him a surprise," Jolshwin said. "Anyway, he'll be leaving the Philippines after he's done with his business. Wouldn't it be happier if you two were together?" Yang Ye did not want to bother with Jolshwin anymore. Jolshwin laughed. "Don't worry. During this time, if anyone tries to harm you, I'll help you get rid of them." "You'll help me?" Yang Ye sneered and pointed at the leader disdainfully. "It's him. He tried to force himself on me before you came." Jolshwin turned around and looked at his men. "What did he do to you? Do I still need to write a detailed report to the big boss?" Yang Ye's voice carried a hint of mockery. She did not believe that Jolshwin would punish his men because of her. To Jolshwin, she was just a tool. Jolshwin wanted to use her to control some of Su Yun's actions. However, Jolshwin now realized that he had messed up. Some people's bottom lines could not be crossed. He had obviously inadvertently crossed Su Yun's bottom line. "Do you know what you've done?" Jolshwin looked at his men expressionlessly. "Do you know that this is my sister-in-law? This is my brother Su Yun's woman. How dare you touch her?" The leader was terrified and immediately knelt on the ground. "Big boss, we know our mistakes. I was possessed for a moment. I deserve to die." "You deserve to die. You said it yourself," Jolshwin said calmly. The leader was suddenly stunned. He raised his head in fear and looked at Jolshwin in shock. Big Big boss. At that moment, Jolshwin extended his hand to the bodyguard beside him. The bodyguard understood what the big boss meant. He immediately took out his gun and handed it to Jolshwin. The leader's legs immediately turned to jelly and he fell to the ground. Jolshwin gently pressed the gun against the leader's head. Don't blame me for not reminding you. You need to have a conscience when doing things. Fortunately, you know that you deserve to die. That means I can do it more easily. Chapter 31:46. Big Boss. I beg you to give me another chance. Bang! The gunshot interrupted his words. The huge impact of the bullet sent his head flying backward. In an instant, the entire warehouse fell silent. Jolshwin returned the gun to his bodyguard and looked at the others. Who else thinks he deserves to die? No one dared to speak. Everyone lowered their heads. The surroundings were dead silent. No one wanted to die. In this world, no one had ever wanted to die. Yongya had never expected Jolshwin to do such a thing. Logically speaking, she should be the passive party. She did not doubt that this old thing would do something to her. Not only did Jolshwin not do that, he even... I'm sorry. I really did not expect my men to be such bastards. I'm sorry to have frightened you, Jolshwin said indifferently. Yongya shook her head. Big boss, I don't understand what you mean. He. Sometimes, business between men requires some bargaining chips. You are my bargaining chip. Jolshwin smiled. However, I hope Miss Xiaoya can understand that I will not hurt you. I just need you to be my guest for a few days. Yongya finally understood Jolshwin's intention and purpose. For Jolshwin, she was a chess piece that could control Su Yun. Jolshwin knew that Su Yun was not someone who could be easily controlled. Therefore, he needed to use all means to control Su Yun. If the woman in front of him was useful, it would be for the best. Even if the woman did not mean anything to Su Yun, he would have wasted his time raising her. I will ask my men to take good care of Miss Xiaoya. If you need anything, you can ask them, Jolshwin said. I will arrange for them to listen to your orders unconditionally. Yongya nodded. That sounds pretty good. If Miss Xiaoya likes it, that would be for the best. Jolshwin laughed. Maybe Su Yun will trust me more because of my arrangements for you. Yongya shook her head. Big boss, no matter how you arrange me, you're just using me to restrain him. I could swear that Su Yun would never like to be restrained by others. I definitely don't want to be used by others. Jolshwin wasn't a fool. He knew very well what kind of person Su Yun was. This was a wrong move. From the moment Su Yun noticed it, he knew it was a wrong move. However, there was no turning back. Since this matter had already been messed up, there was no turning back. There was no chance to start over. If Raishwen wanted to remedy the situation, he definitely wouldn't resort to compromising. Su Yun was not easy to control, so he wanted to let Su Yun know that he was a guy with a strong desire to control. One of them had to show weakness. Otherwise, there would be no way for their cooperation to continue. Jolshwin didn't want to show weakness. After all, he was the big boss of Yunshao Casino and a senator of the Philippines. He was a person who stood at the center of power in the Philippines. In his life, he had never shown weakness to anyone. Jolshwin only knew how to show weakness to power. He didn't care about anyone else. Even if it was the president, he didn't think that he was showing weakness to the president. He thought that showing weakness to the president was showing weakness to power. Power. It was the only thing high and mighty in his heart. Su Yun couldn't be someone that Jolshwin would lower his head and beg for peace. Jolshwin knew this very well. Misya, there are some things that I can't do just because Su Yun doesn't want me to, Jolshwin said calmly. Yorishwen said indifferently, there are some things that Su Yun should do for me if I want to do them. This was a person who had been spoiled by power for a long time. He would never let someone who was more powerful than him take advantage of him. Even if he was at a disadvantage, Jolshwin wanted to turn things around. If it weren't for this competitive mentality, he wouldn't have let his subordinates capture Yang Ye. Su Yun's domineering attitude had caused Jolshwin to have a competitive mentality, which forced him to do something that he would regret a little. Yang Ye didn't say anything more to Jolshwin. She knew that she was weak and couldn't compete with Jolshwin. On the other side, Su Yun returned to the hotel. Xia Qiuyu, who had been worried, finally breathed a sigh of relief when she saw Su Yun. Su Yun told Xia Qiuyu about the situation. After talking about Yang Ye, Xia Qiuyu, who had sharp intuition, raised her doubts. Jolshwin won't send Yang Ye away so easily, Xia Qiuyu told Su Yun very seriously. This made Su Yun, who had only suspected this at first, even more certain of Yang Ye's current situation. Yes, this is my biggest mistake, Su Yun shook his head helplessly. I should have sent Yang Ye away myself. Actually, you shouldn't have thought of finding another girl to do this from the start, Xia Qiuyu frowned. Xia Qiuyu frowned. Although I know you're thinking about me, no girl should be used as a bargaining chip to complete a deal. Su Yun nodded. Now that he had come into contact with Jolshwin, he felt that there was no need. However, he didn't dare take the risk. Without coming into contact with Jolshwin, how could he let Xia Qiuyu play the role of Yang Ye? If Jolshwin turned out to be a heinous pervert, Su Yun was worried that he wouldn't be able to control him. If Jolshwin was only a character like Lamhua, even if he was 100 times stronger than Lamhua, Su Yun wouldn't care. At worst, he would just kill him. However, Jolshwin was different. He was an important person in the Philippines. If he were to kill him, it might cause a crisis between the two countries. As the protector of a country, a person of Su Yun's status would never cross such a line. No matter what, we have to save her, Xia Qiuyu said seriously. Xia Qiuyu told Su Yun seriously, if a girl is put in danger because of us, it's very unfair to her. Su Yun nodded. I know. I won't let Yang Ye be in danger. Leave this to me. Xia Qiuyu's gaze was very firm. Su Yun was stunned. Trust me, I have my instincts, Xia Qiuyu said. Xia Qiuyu said, as long as I want to find her, I have my ways to solve the problem. I will find her. Su Yun was stunned. You? Yes, Xia Qiuyu said. Where are you going to look for it? Su Yun asked. Even he was confused about this matter and had no clues to speak of. Xia Qiuyu smiled. The things you told me are all clues. Su Yun nodded. He had no reason to doubt Xia Qiuyu. Xia Qiuyu could rely on her father's notes to go to Hua Xiar alone to find the whereabouts of the beast head. She had the ability to find Yang Ye through the things Su Yun told her. This was a very simple matter for Xia Qiuyu. The basic skill of a thief was to search. If she couldn't even do that, then there was no need to talk about anything else. It seems that I really need your help. Su Yun was relieved. Help me find her, and I will go save her. I'm afraid it's not convenient for you now. Xia Qiuyu shook his head. Yang Ye must be in a very secure place in Jolshwin, and that place must be filled with people from Jolshwin. Now that you are so close to Jolshwin, the people from Jolshwin must know of your existence. Then you mean? Su Yun was stunned. Xia Qiuyu said seriously, what I mean is, it is safest for me to do this alone. Su Yun shook his head. He felt that it was very dangerous. You have no reason to refuse me, Xia Qiuyu said. Once I find her, I won't just leave without doing anything. Rather than telling you and having you go again, it is better for me to just bring her out. That is the easiest way. Su Yun was silent for a while. She was right. Chapter 31:47. After Xia Qiuyu took over this matter, Su Yun felt a lot more relaxed. Xia Qiuyu brought the money and went straight to Yunshao Casino, so Su Yun did not have to worry about anything. Su Yun also left the hotel as soon as possible to meet with Lamhua. When Lamhua saw Su Yun again, his whole mental state was different. It could be said that he was trying to flatter him to the extreme. In Lamhua's eyes, Su Yun was not just a simple business partner, but a bridge that could connect him to the rich and powerful. Lamhua did not mention anything about money to Su Yun. He just kept telling Su Yun that he had completed all the tasks that Su Yun had arranged for him. Everything was going smoothly. Now, all of Lamore's men were only doing one thing, which was to help Su Yun keep an eye on the things that he wanted to see. As long as the person that he wanted to find came to the Philippines, he would be the first to be targeted. The target would not be able to escape. This was the most important thing for Lamore now. Su Yun was very satisfied with this. Lamore's men were now monitoring all the entrances and exits of the transportation fortresses in the Philippines. When it was time for lunch, Jolshwin called and invited Su Yun to attend a cocktail party with him. Su Yun's first reaction to this kind of event was to refuse. Jolshwin saw that Su Yun refused so straightforwardly, so he did not force the invitation. Because of Yang Ya's matter, Su Yun deliberately neglected Ruolai Sherwin. He wanted Ruolai Sherwin to understand that he shouldn't treat him like an ordinary person. When Lamore heard that Su Yun refused Jolshwin's invitation, he was dumbfounded. What a good opportunity! If he went to that kind of cocktail party, he would get to know all the rich and powerful. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lamore was speechless. Su Yun was crazy. Brother, even if you don't go, you can recommend me to go. Lamore was a little annoyed that he did not seize such a good opportunity. Do you know how many powerful people from the Philippines will be at this banquet? So what if those people are powerful? Can you help me with anything? Su Yun, for me, people who can't help me are meaningless. But it's meaningful to me. Lamore sighed helplessly. Su Yun looked at Lamore and asked him speechlessly, "What do you think Yoris Schwen's attitude towards you?" Lamore sighed in self-abasement. Of course he wouldn't have a good attitude towards me. After all, to him, I'm just a tool. You're not even a tool for profit, Su Yun said bluntly. Lamore was stunned for a moment. He had no way to refute it. He was indeed not even a tool for profit. Su Yun was Yoris Schwen's tool, and Yoris Schwen only glanced at Lamore because he wanted to use Su Yun. Therefore, if it wasn't for Su Yun, Lamore would be an insignificant ant in Yoris Schwen's eyes. Do you know why I said that? Su Yun, it's good that you understand. Lamore nodded with a heavy expression. I understand. So you just need to do what you should do well. As for the rest, I won't waste time with you. Su Yun, don't think about how to climb up to the rich and powerful. Solve my problem first. I'll find a way to give you what you want. Lamore looked at Su Yun in disbelief. Are you serious? Of course. Su Yun nodded. I'm very sure. You might not understand our country. I just need to get to know the rich and powerful, and my future will be smooth sailing. Lamore said excitedly. Corruption is the same in every country. Su Yun, trust me, I know very well that the people in Huaxia who can do well in society are just like you. They all want to climb up to the rich and powerful. With the rich and powerful backing, they can flaunt their power in everything they do. Lamore nodded vigorously. But at the same time, I have to tell you that the money needed to climb up to the rich and powerful is something you don't even dare to think about, Su Yun said coldly. How much money do you think you have to climb up to a senator? Lamore froze for a moment. To be honest, Lamore had no concept of such things. He was just a small figure who had just been promoted. The money you earn in a year might not even be as much as what Yunshao Casino earns in a day. Su Yun said disdainfully, even if you use 10 years of profits to get close to him, he might not even care about you. Lamore's head drooped. He believed that. Not to mention 10 years, even 20 years might not be enough for someone like Jolie Schwen. But as long as you help me get things done. Su Yun smiled. I can make it so that you don't have to pay a single cent, and you can climb up to such a high official. Lamole raised his spirits again and nodded vigorously at Su Yun. I will definitely do my best to complete the task that you have arranged for me. You just need to remember that we're just using each other. That's all. Su Yun said this lightly. If you do my thing beautifully, I'll do yours beautifully. If you mess up my thing, then your thing. Hee hee. This could be considered a threat. At least in Lamore's opinion, it was a threat. Su Yun gave him a lot of hope, but at the same time, he also gave him a huge threat. He was not afraid that Su Yun would do anything to him. He also did not think that Su Yun could do anything to him because he did not know Su Yun's strength. But Lamor was very clear about Zhou Li Xuan's strength. In Filu, if Zhou Li Xuan wanted to destroy a gang like Lamor, it was really just a matter of making a few phone calls. It was too simple. Don't look at the Philippine Special Forces as a bunch of idiots. When it came to helping their superiors, they were quite willing to risk their lives. Letting the Special Forces of the Philippines bully the ordinary people of the Philippines, they were definitely more powerful than Hua Xia's urban management. This was 100% certain. Lamor did not dare to offend the Special Forces of the Philippines, just like how the people of Hua Xia did not dare to offend the urban management. I won't mess up your thing. When Lamor said this, he really felt a little guilty. At this moment, Lamol suddenly received a photo from Asan. The photo was sent from the airport. Before Lamor could see it clearly, Asan called. Boss, the person you asked us to keep an eye on has appeared. I sent you the photo. Before Asan could finish speaking, Lamor hung up. He held the phone in front of Su Yun and almost pressed it on Su Yun's nose. Su Yun moved back a few centimeters before he could see the image on the phone clearly. Is it them? Lamor was a little excited. The Sacred Flame mercenary group was really easy to find. As long as the manpower was in place, they would not be able to escape. A small group of 14 people would naturally attract attention. Moreover, the members of the Sacred Flame mercenary group all had a particularly high-profile tattoo symbol. A black flame burning on the back of their necks was the Sacred Flame mercenary group's totem symbol. If Lamor's people could not keep an eye on someone with such an obvious feature, they would be too weak. After Su Yun saw the photo clearly, he could not help but smile in surprise. How is it? I've done what I promised you. Lamor was also very excited. I said that my people would solve the problem. Tell your people to be careful and follow them in batches. Su Yun, don't alert them. I will report the situation to you. Lamor nodded. Don't worry, I will do everything according to your instructions. Lamor, whether or not you can really become the underground emperor of the Philippines depends on how you do it. If you do it well, you will definitely achieve great things. Su Yun patted Lamor's shoulder. Go, tell your people well. This is your best chance, a real chance to rise. Lamor swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva. This was indeed his best chance. After seeing Jolshwin, Lamor realized that he had not really risen. He was still a low-class gangster and could not be considered a high-end person in the upper class of the Philippines. Chapter 31:48. The airport in the Philippines was bustling with people. Although the Philippines was not a big country or a tourist destination, due to the improvement in the quality of life of the Hua Xia people in recent years, there were many small capitalists. Everyone especially liked to travel abroad and post on their social media to show their existence. Going to a neighboring country in Southeast Asia would raise their status without spending much money. It was killing two birds with one stone. The cost of a double flight trip to the Philippines for a week might not even be enough to pay for a single flight to the United States. Of course, this was not only applicable to Hua Xia people. People from other countries in Asia were the same. There were tourists from all over the world, and their characteristics were very distinct. People who were dressed in luxury goods from head to toe, wearing all kinds of jewelry and accessories, were 100% Hua Xia people. A group of men and women walked together. They looked like a group of triplets. They were basically Korean oppas and pretty girls. Short legs and ugly faces were the characteristics of Japan. It was needless to say that everyone knew which countries' characteristics were. After all, in the whole of Asia, only these few countries were richer and developed faster. Therefore, there were more tourists from these countries. The airport in the Philippines was filled with tourists from other countries. The members of the Sacred Flame mercenary group did not know that there were so many tourists in the Philippines. They were still quite surprised. especially their vice leader, Jin Zhongshuo. When he saw so many Chinese people, he felt some pressure in his heart. As a Korean, Jin Zhongshuo was considered to be one of the more handsome in the group. At least, he was many times more handsome than the leader, Stinging Ant. He had good genes and inherited the characteristics of a long-legged woman. Unfortunately, he could not adapt to the rules of the entertainment company. In a small country like Korea, if one wanted to become famous and earn big money, the easiest way was to be a celebrity. Of course, it had to be a celebrity who was famous in Hwaseong. It was meaningless to be famous in Korea. Why did Korean celebrities like to come to Hwaseong to earn money? It was because the entertainment systems of the two countries were not the same. From the very beginning, the economic contracts were different. Take the most classic S&M company example. A group of people made a photo album. Every time they sold a photo album that was worth 100 yuan, they would only get a few yuan after deducting the tax paid to the management company and the agent. It was different in Hwaseong. Hwaseong's contract was obviously not so harsh. As long as it was a B-list celebrity's appearance, it was common for them to receive hundreds of thousands of yuan. However, in Korea, only the top singers would receive such treatment. Speaking of those programs, most of Korea's members were groups. Sometimes, there were many people in a group and they participated in the program as a group. One job was only a few thousand yuan. How much could the members of the group get? A classic example was an actor with a good status in the Korean entertainment industry. After working hard, he finally bought an inexpensive car 3 years later. For a Korean to enter the entertainment industry was like a Hwaseong to work in an ordinary company. Being a trainee at the beginning was equivalent to a probation period. Talk about money. Dream on. Take Running Men for example. The money Uncle Deng earned in a year was probably more than the entire Running Man's members in a year. It was not that Jin Zhongshuo did not dream of becoming a celebrity. He also knew that if a celebrity became popular in Hwaseong, it meant that his value would skyrocket. However, he also knew that not many people could really become popular in Hwaseong. It was already good enough if there was one every year. Now, there were so many Hwaseong idols who came to Korea to be trainees. With their nationality, the company liked to make them popular and it was easier to earn money. Jin Zhongshuo had even less of a chance. After serving in the military, he knew that he had no more dreams. Not everyone was so lucky to be a male idol and the husband of hundreds of millions of Hwaseong girls. After the Korean celebrities came to Hwaseong and received the emperor treatment in Hwaseong, they were not willing to return to Korea. Even if they were, they would raise the level of their programs. The treatment they received in Hwaseong was really something they could not get in Korea. Really, in the eyes of the Korean celebrities, these were really great. In Korea, an artist only had one advertisement. If it was not good, the director would not beg you to shoot another one. On the contrary, if the artist was not good, he would definitely beg the director to shoot another one. Sometimes, when the director was impatient, the agent would also help to plead. However, in Hwaseong, it was the opposite. After Jin Zhongshuo retired from the military, he did not have the chance to fulfill his dream of becoming a celebrity. By chance, he met a sting ant in Korea. By chance, he and the sting ant became friends. Of course, this was many years ago. Later, under the sting ant's persuasion, he successfully joined the Sacred Flame mercenary group. If he joined the mercenary group, he could earn more money. As long as he could earn more money, his mother and sister's life would not be so difficult. His mother would not have to work so hard under someone else's roof. His sister, who was about to turn 15, would not have to carry so much pressure every day to be selected as a trainee of an entertainment company. It was very painful to be a trainee. Anyone who had been a trainee in Korea would know this. Jin Zhongshuo did not want his sister to be a trainee. He did not want his sister to enter the entertainment industry. Korea's entertainment industry was so dirty that the whole world would not dare to believe it. Hwaseong's entertainment industry was dirty enough. However, compared to Korea, it was like Wahaha's pure water. From the various incidents in the Korean entertainment industry, it could be seen how dirty the Korean entertainment industry was. Many Korean female celebrities could not bear the pressure and committed suicide because of all kinds of sex. In the slave contract of the Korean celebrities, sex and eating was not an unspoken rule. It was simply a written rule. Because of this, Jin Jong-shuo would definitely not let his sister walk the path of the entertainment industry. "Jong-shuo, there are quite a lot of Koreans here," the sting ant said calmly. "How many years has it been since you returned to your country?" A hint of bitterness appeared on Jin Jong-shuo's face. "I have long lost the concept of time." "You miss your family, right?" The sting ant looked at Jin Jong-shuo seriously. Jin Jong-shuo did not reply. "I know that you are wanted in Korea because of my incident back then. However, don't worry, I will definitely make it up to you," the ant said. "I will help you hire the best plastic surgeon and completely change your appearance. If I wanted to do that, I would have done it long ago." Jin Jong-shuo rejected directly. "If I change my face, my mother and sister will not recognize me." The sting ant did not understand why he was so stubborn. "Can you explain?" Hwasia has a saying, "The body, hair, and skin are from the parents," Jin Jong-shuo said seriously. "I will definitely not touch everything that my parents have given me." The sting ant did not persuade him anymore. A guy beside Jin Jong-shuo, whose height was slightly out of proportion, said impatiently to Jin Jong-shuo in Japanese, "To you Koreans, is plastic surgery even a thing? What's the big deal? Korea is a country that does plastic surgery. If you speak your mother tongue again, I promise I will tear your mouth apart." Jin Jong-shuo turned around and glared at him. The guy who spoke was called Sakano Kuen, a Japanese who would speak his mother tongue at any time. Japanese were not welcomed internationally. At least, Jin Jong-shuo did not have a good impression of this guy. Especially when this guy spoke Japanese, it made him feel disgusted. The 14 people in the Sacred Flame mercenary group came from 14 different countries. Everyone spoke English to communicate better. However, Sakano Kuen would occasionally speak Japanese, which made people feel that he was insulting or saying unpleasant words. Jin Jong-shuo could understand Japanese, but he hated it the most. Because he hated Japanese. Perhaps everyone in Asia would hate the Japanese. This was very normal. After all, the Japanese had done so many despicable things to the other countries in Asia. What was more disgusting was that they still did not admit their mistakes. Sakano Kuen did not seem to be afraid of Jin Jong-shuo. He said in his mother tongue, "Baka. If I like to speak in my mother tongue, I will speak in my mother tongue. You can't control me." Before Jin Jong-shuo could do anything, the sting ant pressed down on Sakano Kuen's head and turned his body upside down, almost dislocating Sakano Kuen's arm. Sakano Kuen knelt on one knee in pain and immediately begged for mercy. Chapter 31-49. Don't provoke Jong-shuo. Usually, Sting Ant didn't put on any airs in his mercenary group, so his subordinates dared to joke in front of him. Once he stopped something, it was because he couldn't stand it and didn't want the matter to continue. Every time Sakano provoked Jin Jong-shuo verbally, Sting Ant would immediately stop him. The reason was simple: he didn't want anything to happen to his mercenary group. Jin Jong-shuo was someone who couldn't take a joke. Sting Ant knew this better than anyone else. Because Sting Ant controlled the situation to the best of his ability, there weren't any serious conflicts. This was also why Sakano never changed his mouth. Sakano never treated Jin Jong-shuo as a dangerous person. In the entire Sacred Flame mercenary group, the only two people Sakano dared to provoke were Jin Jong-shuo and Khalees. Khalees was a quiet person. No matter how harsh Sakano's words were, she would turn a deaf ear. Sting Ant wasn't worried about this, but Jin Jong-shuo was different. "Leader," Jin Jong-shuo said faintly, "how long are you going to protect this guy?" Sakano was startled. He looked at Jin Jong-shuo with a provocative gaze. He was surprised that Jin Jong-shuo would say something like that. Normally, he wouldn't say anything. As long as the Sting Ants interfered, he wouldn't say anything. "Jong-shuo, now is not the time to throw a tantrum. Sting Ant comforted Jin Zhongshua again, "If you have any problems, wait until our crisis is resolved." This time, Jin Zhongshua didn't listen to Sting Ant's arrangement. He was stubborn. "Leader, we know very well that we're already in the Philippines. Hua Xia hasn't done anything. Maybe they don't even know that we're here. It's even more impossible for them to know what we brought out of Hua Xia. We don't have anything to worry about, right?" Sting Ant frowned. It was fine to say this, but it couldn't be taken seriously. Since Hua Xia was a country that no mercenary group in the world wanted to work in, it meant that Hua Xia had the deterrence of Hua Xia. The Sting Ant was very experienced. Although everything went smoothly this time, he didn't believe that Hua Xia didn't notice anything amiss at all. Vaguely, he felt that Hua Xia's eyes were watching them, but he could not detect the existence of any suspicious targets. It was as if outside the airport, the surrounding Filipinos made him feel uncomfortable. The eyes of these street thugs made him feel like he was being watched. However, the Sting Ant knew that this was not a threat, nor was it a surveillance from Hua Xia. That was why it ignored these threats. "Sakano-kun, apologize to Zhongshua." The Sting Ant suddenly spoke. This was his last resort. Sakano was stunned. "Leader, you want me to apologize to him for such a small matter? Did I say anything? All I did was speak my mother tongue. Did that offend him? Guild leader, aren't you making me bitterly disappointed? I've been following you for 7 years. The Sting Ant calmly listened to Sakano-kun's complaints. "How many years has he been with you?" 4 years. 5 years. Sakano-kun asked. The Sting Ant shook his head and signaled Sakano-kun to stop talking. If this continued, he would not be able to control Jin Zhongshua. Once Jin Zhongshua was really angry, the internal conflict would be triggered. Sakano-kun's words offended people easily. In the Sacred Flame mercenary group, Jin Zhongshua was not the only one who hated him. Alice, who was often teased by Sakano-kun's dirty words, was also not interested in Sakano-kun. It was just that this French woman's patience was terrifying. As for Tu Zibai, who did not grow up in Hua Xia, but had Hua Xia's blood flowing in his veins, he was definitely someone who hated Sakano-kun. He never took the initiative to speak to Sakano-kun, and whatever Sakano-kun said, he would basically ignore it. Other than them, Krovsky and Eugene also did not like Sakano-kun. The only people in the mercenary group who could be friends with Sakano-kun were Victor and Jim. Sakano-kun seemed to have a subservient feeling towards the people of North America, just like how his country was subservient to the people of North America. Once Jin Zhongshua and Sakano-kun fell out, Alice, Eugene, Krovsky, and Tu Zibai would immediately stand behind Jin Zhongshua. Moreover, they were a part of the Sacred Flame mercenary group with terrifying strength. At most, Sakano-kun would have the support of Victor and Jim. Kudo, Joyce, Jeremy, and Fu Dravo, these 4 people would either stay neutral or join the stronger side. They would definitely not help Sakano-kun, this was without a doubt, because Sakano-kun was obviously the weaker side. "I want you to apologize," the Sting Ant emphasized again. This time, it was his order, there was no room for discussion. Sakano-kun was stunned. This was almost an insult to him. "The leader has already spoken, don't be awkward." Victor stood behind Sakano-kun. "Is it that difficult to apologize? It's very simple, just take it as a casual sentence, why take it so seriously?" Victor was thinking for Sakano-kun. Of course, he was also thinking for himself. His relationship with Sakano-kun was good, the entire mercenary group knew. If they really fell out, should he help or not? Helping Sakano-kun was undoubtedly hitting a rock with an egg. He was not stupid enough to go against Jin Zhongshua and Alice, 2 of the strongest people in the mercenary group. Unless he was crazy. But what if he did not help Sakano-kun? He would be labeled as a disloyal person. Who would dare to be sincere friends with him in the future? This was also what Victor needed to consider. The best way now was for Sakano-kun to lower his head and apologize to Jin Zhongshua. In Victor's eyes, Jin Zhongshua was a very easy person to talk to. Most of the time, As long as he gave him face, he would not cause any trouble. Jin Zhongshuo, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said something that made you unhappy. I hope you can give me a chance and forgive me. Sakano Kuin finally chose to compromise. I hope that we can still be friends in the future. Everyone is working for the mercenary group. We should trust each other and treat each other as friends. Jin Zhongshuo shook his head and did not even look at Sakano Kuin, directly saying to the spiky ant, Captain, I won't accept his apology, but I will give you face. I know that this is not the time to cause trouble. At least he did not need to worry about the spiky ant for now. However, I want to give him a warning. Jin Zhongshuo said coldly, if there comes a day when we really have peace, I will definitely make him regret everything he said. The spiky ant was expressionless, its heart as calm as a lake. Facing Jin Zhongshuo's threat, Sakano Kuin's expression changed greatly. You're threatening me? So what? Jin Zhongshuo did not want to argue with Sakano Kuin. I will prove to you sooner or later that I'm not a man who only knows how to talk. I will let you know that the men of the Grand Han prefer to use their fists to solve problems, unlike a coward from the Yamato clan. You. Sakano Kuin was about to flip out. The spiky ant held him back. We are going to the hotel now. If anyone dares to say another word, I don't mind having one less person on the way to the hotel. Everyone quieted down. The spiky ant did not have a temper normally, but when it did, no one dared to provoke it. You all know the reason why the Sacred Flame mercenary group did not have a lot of people. The spiky ant said, people who do not share the same path will only cause conflict if they are put together. But now, even if you have conflicts, you have to suppress them. Because this time, everyone has contributed. No matter who it is, you should finish your work and walk to the end. If you can't resolve your conflicts, then after we split the money, think of a way to resolve it. Don't waste everyone's time. Yes. Jin Zhongshuo immediately nodded. Sakano Kuin was very agitated. He knew that he was not Jin Zhongshuo's opponent in a one-on-one fight, but now that his boss had said that, what else could he do? Jin Zhongshuo was already saying, it's either him or me, and it's either me or him. Alright, everyone, don't get angry. Let's drink tonight and sleep together for a night. Victor continued to be the mediator. Chapter 3150. The sting ant had always treated the internal conflict as a headache that couldn't be solved. The Sacred Flame mercenary group had been developing for so many years. If they could solve the internal conflict, they would have become one of the top mercenary groups in the world. This was the reason why there were only a dozen people left. The members of the Sacred Flame mercenary group had been replaced frequently enough. Although there wouldn't be people joining and leaving every year, there would still be new people joining every 3 to 5 years. And every 3 to 5 years, there would definitely be casualties. As mercenaries, this was very normal. It was not easy for Sakano to be able to follow the sting ant for 7 years. In the Sacred Flame mercenary group, other than Eugene, Joyce, and Tu Bai, who joined Sacred Flame earlier than Sakano Kuin, everyone else joined later than him. Jin Zhongshuo was the latest to join. There was another guy who joined a year later than Jin Zhongshuo. He died on his 2nd year in the Sacred Flame mercenary group due to a mission. That was why Jin Zhongshuo, who had been in the Sacred Flame mercenary group for 4 years, was still considered a newcomer. However, this newcomer's strength was not to be underestimated. The sting ant believed that Jin Zhongshuo's strength was even higher than Alice and Tu Bai. They didn't take a taxi. Instead, they called for a rental car. About 10 minutes later, 2 large caravans appeared in front of them. They were different from normal tourists. They didn't have much luggage. They only had 2 very exquisite suitcases with a password. The 2 suitcases were always in Tu Bai's hands. Even when they got in the car, the suitcases were always in Tu Bai's hands. The short dispute was over, but Sakano Kuin's mood was not high. The stinging ant's words chilled him to the core. Even he himself felt like he had been abandoned by someone. To be honest, he really didn't like this feeling. It made him feel uncomfortable, disgusted, and wronged. However, he couldn't deny that Jin Zhongshuo's strength was indeed higher than his. As the leader, the sting ant would undoubtedly choose a more valuable person to stay by his side. If it were anyone else, they would have done the same. Sakano couldn't accept this. He knew that he had to solve the problem and solve the dangerous situation. The sting ant said that after the matter was over, they would split the money and let Jin Zhongshuo and him settle their personal grudges. When the time came, he would die in Jin Zhongshuo's hands. So what if he got the money? A dead person couldn't spend money. If he didn't want to die, he should get the hell out of here as soon as possible. He didn't even want the money. But Sono-kun had spent a lot of effort on this matter. Now that he was suddenly asked to give up, that was definitely impossible. Moreover, the beast's head was such a precious item. The amount of money that belonged to him was enormous. He could not give up on the money. If he wanted money and his life, there was a way to leave the Sacred Flame mercenary group unscathed with the money. However, the risk was too great. Sakano-kun, who had just started having crooked thoughts, was reminded by someone. Some things can be done, and some things can't be done. Jim knew Sono-kun very well, so when Sono-kun thought of something, he also sensed it. After getting on the car, Sono-kun had been silent, which made Jim feel that something was wrong. Apart from Victor and Jim, there were also Cook, Joyce, Jeremy, and Fedravo in the same car as Sakano. Perhaps only the four of them were willing to ride with Sakano because they were more neutral than the rest. The others in the Sacred Flame mercenary group were already very disgusted with Sono-kun. Other than the people in the two cars, there was another person who left first, Tekeril. In the words of the stinging ant, Tekeril was a shrewd pathfinder. Tekeril went to find a hotel first. They needed a comfortable and safe environment with a lot of escape routes. Therefore, they needed Tekeril to search carefully. After all, they were not in a hurry to check in. The stinging ant was a careful person. He knew very well that if he wanted to find a sense of security in an unfamiliar place, he had to first familiarize himself with the streets and alleys of the city. After getting on the car, they began to have people lead them on the main roads of the city. Everyone's gaze was placed outside the window, looking at the terrain and streets. They remembered where the most congested streets were and where the smoothest roads were. The two cars circled the roads for close to 3 hours. Finally, the stinging ant received a message from Tekeril. The hotel was booked and the location was sent to the stinging ant's phone. The stinging ant turned to look at Krovsky. "How is it? How familiar are you with this place?" 95%. Krovsky grinned. He was known as the road idiot in the Sacred Flame mercenary group. He was the slowest to familiarize himself with a place. Therefore, when Krovsky was more or less familiar with a city, the others would have no problem. This was one of the stinging ant's criteria. At the very least, he was now very familiar with the streets and alleys of the city. "Then we'll go back to the hotel to rest. Everyone has worked hard these days." The stinging ant apologized. "But for the sake of safety and smoothness, I had to make that choice." Alice stretched lazily. "I can finally use the hotel's bathtub to take a comfortable bath." "Alice, you're the one who suffered the most." The stinging ant did not put on airs with his own people. "I'm sorry. Leader, some things are not what you think." Alice understood the stinging ant very well. "If you let me stay in the hotel, take a bath every morning and night, and wear dry and clean clothes, you wouldn't have let me sleep in the forest." The stinging ant laughed bitterly. "Your understanding is the greatest comfort to me." "What about them? Their understanding is also important," Alice said. The stinging ant smiled. "They don't need to understand at all. They're all men. Sleeping in the wilderness is no big deal. All men should like that feeling. They're not like you." Eugene looked helpless. "Leader, actually, men also like to be dry and cool. That means you're too feminine." Krovsky waved his hand. "Men don't care about these things. Don't say that men don't care." Eugene felt that he was not being hypocritical if he spoke the truth. In modern society, No one likes to live like a savage. Only those who don't live in the mud every day can be called a mercenary group. Those who wear suits and ties can also be called a mercenary group. Alice smiled. Then you don't understand Krovsky at all. He's from a fighting race. Fighting race? Eugene snorted. I'm afraid that's a little flattering. The stinging ant smiled. I'm not trying to flatter Russia. They are indeed a fighting nation. When boxing was popular in the United States, the Russians came and the boxing champion of the United States fell. When karate was popular in Japan, the Russians came and the Japanese karate master was KO'd. When wrestling was popular, the Russian bear monsters came to mess things up again. The result is obvious. Alice shrugged. The stinging ant nodded. Yes, Japanese judo was popular, and the Russian Lao Pu appeared. The Japanese probably wanted to vomit blood. Have you seen the MMA mixed martial arts of the past few years? What? Eugene wasn't very interested in these things. The Russian bear monster has an Amalenko, the martial arts czar, Alice said. Clarice said, this is enough to prove that this tribe that grew up in such a harsh environment has a valiant and tyrannical aura that no other tribe can compare to. The long years of cold weather also created the tall and majestic Russian bear monster physique. That's right. The climate in the north is colder, so the northerners are taller than the southerners for the same reason. Because of the low temperature, they have to eat more food to replenish their calories, so they eat more nutrients. In this way, the tough culture and fierce physique made the Russians a fighting race, Krovsky said lightly. We are monsters that grew up in a harsh environment. Eugene grinned. You really think it's a compliment? We Russians have never been ashamed of being called a fighting nation, Krovsky said confidently. We have always taken it as a compliment. But you're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.